in the hopper, I guess.
So it is now time for us to open up our board meeting. And if Supervisor Montgomery, would you please offer prayer?
I certainly will. If you will bow your head. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this day. Thank you for this past Veterans Day. Dear Lord, thank you for all the veterans who in the past have served, and dear Lord, the present veterans as well now. Dear Lord, be with this county, be with these each and every one of these county officials here tonight as we bring business before this board. Dear Lord, be with our great state of Mississippi, and dear Heavenly Father, please be with our country right now. Thank you for all the freedoms that this country does provide and the choices that it does provide each and every man and woman that lives within this country. Dear Lord, be with our military who fight abroad, and thank you for all the many blessings again that this country, this state, and this county do provide to each and every one of us. It's in Jesus' name we do pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, Supervisor Montgomery. And thank you for praying for those veterans. I tell you, if you have any veterans in, will you please quickly stand and take a bow? One right here. Thank
y'all.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Can't say enough.
Yes,
really
sir.
can't.
Well, let me bow too then.
Yeah.
Look at you.
Okay, here we go. First on the agenda, if we have any citizens who would like to make a comment, would you please feel free to do so now. Seeing that we have none, we move forward with Mr. Toby Sanford. With redistricting is
the fun part.
Before we get started. Then it's all yours.
All right, let's see if we can get these in. Over there.
Writing the letters. Four blanks, but now some of them are the same thing. Last year,
We need one more here.
Thank you.
The same, those are all the same in here.
You got one more there?
We can go ahead and hand them all out while we're here. Take that pass it down.
Is this one here? Right now. We got it. Okay, got it.
Another plan two's coming off, huh? And then plan three. There's plan three. And then I'll do the justice courts after we go over these three. We'll go over plan one as a refresher. If y'all remember, it's pretty easy. If you look at page one, it's the one change right there where that red circle is. And what the change is Aspen Heights moving out of 2 and all into 5.
You have one of those that we did.
Yeah.
Here's 2 extra right here.
Here's plan 1.
Which one is, I don't know which one that is. Are those both
It
the same?
tells you.
Plan 3, plan 3, yeah.
Right, plan 1's pretty easy. Here, give this to you. And I should have extra copies if anybody else needs one. Plan 2.
Could
You know,
we kind of conclude that we discussed plan 1 and we thought that would not work?
Well, yes, sir. If you want to, I mean, it's a valid plan, and we could go over that later if the board just doesn't like plan 1, then
Okay. You want to go over all of them and then
and then we'll go over. Yeah, we'll go over all. Plan 2, we'll go over a little more in the demographic table. You can see that we start out at benchmark at 14.73%. Plan 2 gets us to 7.27%. If we look at the first map, it shows you where all your changes are. The changes on New Light Road, the changes in the city, the one for the one apartment complex off of 182, The changes between 2 and 3 off 389 and downtown, or not downtown, or there's detailed maps, so we'll see the streets. And then one change down here between 4 and 5, it's zero population. All it does is actually clean up the line and make it follow the city limit line. So if we go to the first map, this is Plan 2 before on New Light Road, and this is between 1 and 4. And what it does
That's Highway
is
12 too, isn't it, right there?
New Light Road. And what it
Okay.
does is the old district line was a section line. And that made it difficult for people because it didn't follow the road. You didn't know exactly what supervisor district you were in 100%. Even for y'all driving down the road, you may not know just off the top of your head where I am. What it does, you look at the after, is it makes the boundary line follow New Light Road. So
Very cool.
everything on the north side would be in 1. Everything on the south side would be in 4.
Makes it
That ain't gonna make any difference to us, because
It
there's so
do- it-
few
it
right
was
there. I mean,
Very
seriously.
few
Maybe
people.
6 people.
Maybe.
There was very few people.
Yeah.
That was just to clean up that boundary line. The next one is the before, the changes, and you can see the little arrows that show you where the changes are. And there's going to be a change right here. I don't see the arrow on the before map, but this area right here would go from 2 to 3, 2 to 3, and then from 3 to 5. And that right there is that nursing home.
Yeah.
Is that right?
A couple of apartment complexes.
So you can
No.
see the after,
Just
where it changes 2 to 3, 2 to 3, and then that nursing home into 5. There's the map that shows the nursing home 3 to 5. You're following me? This is not an easy task. I try to, if y'all have suggestions on the way these maps work, because I'm doing a bunch of these. If this works well, I mean, it's hard to display this information. This is the one change from 4 to 5. You can see the old line follows that creek right there. What
Yeah.
I did in this zero population is make it follow the city limit line where it can. And that's MSU, that's South Farm. That puts that into 5, and that changes that boundary to be the city limit line. Alright, and our last change is over here off of Eudora Welty. I think it's those apartments, and I can't think of the name of those apartments. You all know what they are.
That would be Cross Gates and
Is that Cross Gates?
Avalon. Yeah.
Before they were split, depending on what building you were in. And now that puts all that back into one, like it was 10 years ago. That is Plan 2.
You did
Yeah.
that one for miles, right?
That'll be for the precinct. And I'm not doing the precincts till after the,
Okay,
yeah, that'll be on the back end.
okay, thank you.
Y'all have any questions on 2? And then now we look at 3. And I don't know if did y'all get a 3? It should say right here. Plan 3 is exactly the same as Plan 2, except, and we can skip on over here to where the one change is this one right here. This area right here moves that 3 into 2, and then this right here is the same, that moves that 2 into 3. I do not make the change in Plan 3 where the nursing home comes in, because if this area right here where Rolling Hills is moves into 3, that overpopulates 3 a little bit, and that's why that nursing home was moved into 5. It's because that took out population of 3. What this one does is it moves all Rolling Hills into 2. And that's the only difference between the two. This does stay the same. This area where Womack Road, where the Greenfield Street is, all still moves into 3. That is the only difference between 2 and 3. Y'all have any questions on this one? And this one does have a little bit higher deviation. Plan 2 was 727. This one's at 872 because it doesn't move as many people out of 2 as Plan 2 does. And that Supervisor 2 is the one that's overpopulated. He's the reason that deviation at benchmark is 14%. He is 9.7% by himself at benchmark, and anything above 10 doesn't work. So you can see that this one doesn't go quite as low.
Does that affect any polling, say from 2 to 3? Would that
No,
affect
it's that your precinct line would follow whatever we decide to do. So what that does is it does, and if you remember my comment, Rolling Hills, all of it needs to be in one or the other. I don't care which one it's in personally, but that would move everybody in Rolling Hills into the same supervisor district instead of trying to figure out what these few people that live here being in 3 and then everybody on the other side of the road being in 2. Do y'all have any questions?
Yeah, but it does take in a voting precinct.
What do you mean? It would move that precinct line.
I'm talking about the precinct itself.
You talking about what, the fire station?
Mm-mm. No, they vote at the.
Oh,
It's a church now.
Church.
Yeah.
They
So
vote at
that-
the church now.
then that, yeah, you're right. I didn't think about that. There's a voting precinct, I guess. Oh, I didn't look at it. Is it in here somewhere?
Mount Pelier, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Well, is it in 2 right now?
Yes.
So Plan 2 would move this one works. Because your voting precinct would be right here. What side of that line is your voting
The
precinct?
voting precinct is in.
I thought we looked at
Is
that.
in Town, is it?
Is it not at Mount Pelier now? Yeah, they did
It's at
move
the
it
church.
to town.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
so
it used to
that-
be at the fire station. It's not.
I didn't think that was.
That was in 3.
Yeah, that was. Now the voting precinct for the city is at Mount
No,
Pelier.
that won't
The
won't
fire
affect
station that
your
you're talking
supervisor.
about was Garrett Road.
North Starkville 2 is at Montpelier also.
Okay.
So neither plan affects a voting place.
Okay.
Is that right?
Okay, that was
My
my
fault,
question.
okay.
Yeah.
Because Garrett Road, where it was on,
I thought we
we moved it to Trinity.
discussed
Yeah.
Yeah.
that last
This
time.
East Fair is this area. I'm trying to picture where this area is right
The
Right here.
here. Yeah,
That's going up
The
Montgomery
elementary-
Street. That's right in there where
where the guy used to work on lawnmowers and stuff.
Kenny.
That's on Green Hill right there.
No, Liability back there, Capitol Street. His uncle stayed there.
and Overstreet, I think, is right there.
Yeah,
The little school.
Elementary.
So if
There's a
you
man
come
on
down
Green
North
Hill that works
Jackson,
on mowers.
and just before you get to the store,
Yeah.
that area that the
Yeah,
town.
all that
take a
would be
left and
moving
go
into-
in.
Yeah, that's all.
That's right.
All
All that would be
Green.
moving into 3. And
Rolling
which
Hills.
which
Rolling
will
Hills.
This would be, you're going down, North Montgomery,
Yeah.
and
And there's
just before
a
you get to that store out there
store
on the
right-
left,
there's a store right here, I believe. Is one you're talking about?
You talking about the one on Jackson or Montgomery? No, he's talking about the Be Quick right here.
yeah, the big quick.
Yeah.
Are you talking about taking a left off of North Montgomery before you get to the Be Quick?
Yeah. Womack.
Well, that's Womack.
That would put it into 3. All of that out of 2 and into 3.
Rolling Hills would be in 3.
And
That's before you get to the fire station.
I'm saying Rolling Hills. I'm sorry.
This is over on North Montgomery. This, not Jackson.
Oh, no,
the
Hospital.
Oh, okay.
The hospital place.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah.
Rolling Hills.
Where is North Montgomery?
right here.
This is North
Yeah,
Montgomery.
and that's where the guy that works
If
on
you're
mowers
going,
is at.
which
That's my
way
district
is
for
north?
17 years.
North is up.
Come up this way.
Mm-hmm.
So you're coming out of off of 182 on North Montgomery.
Mm-hmm. There's a bunch of apartments through here on the south side of East Garrett. And
Do you know what was the guy's name? What used to work on lawnmowers? Live right there on
See
the corner.
Brown.
Oh, Henry Park.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Is that what we talking?
Well, that's the same area. That's the same area. But he lives right at the corner of Green Hill Drive in Montgomery.
Yeah.
Yeah, Henry Park.
Works on the mowers.
He passed away a few years ago.
Yeah, a couple of years ago.
So tell me, where is all the growth?
your district, well, I
Where
mean,
did
to
it-
say where the growth is,
Right.
The county did grow by about 4,000 people.
Right.
And it wasn't all uniform. But your district is the one that was overpopulated above and beyond anybody else.
So where did all the growth happen? Just at Aspen Heights?
No. Well, that one, of course, because that was not counted
Right,
in
right,
2010.
right.
It was
Is it
counted-
mostly apartments that's changing this?
There's a few subdivisions that were built in your district, but some of those that population wouldn't be counted. We would have to sit down and look at it block by block and look at the population it was in 2010 and what it is in 2021 to really show you which blocks had the growth. It doesn't just have to be growth. Any of the other districts could have lost population.
And then by the same token, what
And
did
by
they
the
lose?
same token, it would still push you 1,000 people above everybody else. And so yours didn't have to grow technically if everybody else lost. But since the county did go up by about 4,000 people, and you're 1,004 over, then I would say the majority of the growth was in District 2.
Yeah, 'cause you think of all the subdivisions since 2010 that have been put in all the areas.
Yeah.
I mean, how much growth there is everywhere.
Even 4 is 239 above, and then there's been quite a few built in yours, especially where on Old Highway 12 there. Whatnot.
So where will these people have to go to vote?
The ones on Jackson that's gonna be moved into.
Oh, off of North Montgomery.
These right here.
That would, what was 2 would then go to 3, which would be, Trinity.
Trinity over by the church.
Okay, and so the ones at Rolling Hills would have to go back across town.
They would not.
Where would they vote at from Rolling Hills if they
If
moved into
he's
2?
saying Rolling Hills, if they move in,
They're gonna have to go out to way out to
They would have to go
16
way out
section?
to, Hickory Grove.
16 section. No, out to Osborne.
Either Hickory Grove, Osborne, or
Yeah, Osborne, that's it. See,
From Rolling Hill?
to Osborne, yeah.
From
That's on
Hill,
16
really
sections.
They had to go
And
to Osborne.
when they're less than a half a mile away from a voting precinct now?
Yeah.
Because 2 now, right there, would go to Mount Pelier.
where they are, these people right here in 2 now would go to Mount
Go to
Pelier.
Mount Pelier there on Jackson.
But if they move into 3,
Then they would go to
Presbyterian.
Presbyterian Church there by the hospital. Which is
But Rolling Hills voters would have to drive way out Hickory Grove or somewhere to vote.
Get to go out to Osborne, 16 section.
Osborne.
Go out to 16 section church.
I think that puts a bad inconvenience on those people in Rolling Hills.
to
have
move them
drive
out of
that
2.
far. No, to move them into 2.
I got you.
Which
They
ones
already
are
in 2.
moving into 2?
They already have to go out there?
No, they already in
right?
2. They go to Mount Peter.
Well, those would just go down to the hospital, by the hospital.
So
by
they
Trinity.
wouldn't go,
They wouldn't go
they're
to
still
Osborne.
in the city.
In 2, where they are now,
Go to Mont Pelier.
they go to Mount,
Yeah.
either Mount Pelier or,
And then if they move into 3,
They
they
would go
wouldn't
to
have
Trinity.
really any farther to go.
No.
So
They
no.
they don't go to Osborne though, right? They don't have, okay, okay.
not these.
No, they'd still be,
Because Osborne is 16 sections, right there off of West Point Road and 16 sections.
So Toby,
The
what's
Life Baptist Church, isn't that what it's called?
what's the number?
16 section.
of people.
Yeah.
But these would go right
Okay.
down here to, Trinity, which isn't far. They just come down straight down Highway.
Looking at here. The total number of people that are moving between 3 and 4.
No, 3 and 2.
That's what I meant.
Really?
If I can do math, 10, 2, 23, minus 9, 8. Your teachers always said you wouldn't have a calculator in your pocket. 10,
Removing these
7
would
minus
not be a hardship
9.
at all. And these would still, these.
383 people move out of
These would have to go
2 and into
These might have to be.
Three.
And so here, what are we talking?
In that plan,
Because it's just right over here, 62nd. How far down is Garrett? Going east. So it might be a hardship for these people. It's not that far.
We ain't gonna do it with my feet.
Yeah. That's a pain anyway.
600 and in Plan 3 is 623 people. Leave 2.
Plan 3.
Like in this one, you're talking about where only this moves and not that.
Yeah, how many people are here in this block?
I can only give you about an estimate, just 9844. I can't do it that way because that also accounts for the people leaving your. I'd have to look at it on a computer, and I can get my laptop and tell you.
You have to see how it.
I'd have to see because you've got people leaving in another area too, so I can't just
Right,
subtract.
because in Rolling Hills, there's a certain, when you turn into Rolling Hill, all the
There
houses
are
on
only.
the west side of that street is in 3 now.
I think there's 30 something.
Probably not but about
30.
10 or 12 homes, but
East
I
of
think it's
389
between 30 and
would have to
40
go-
people
Yeah.
that live right here.
They would have to go
In
to
that block.
Osborne.
East of 389.
West of 389 would go to Trinity. Because if you go with Plan 2, they're taking away that precinct down there of Mount Pelier.
We just have to move it. You wouldn't necessarily do away with it, you just have to move it.
Well, move it, we'd have to move location up closer if you want, if there's something up in this area.
yeah, but that wouldn't give me any precinct in town,
Right.
and I don't think that would
That's
be
what I'm saying,
appropriate.
is that's the only problem.
Yeah, I wouldn't have any precinct
To
in
move,
town.
if you move, are we talking about the Rolling Hills move?
Well,
Well,
You would still have what's over here.
It wouldn't be a precinct though.
Yeah,
They'd
but
have
you're
to go
taking
back to
away-
the county
uh,
to vote.
Mount Pelier Church here on Jackson Street,
If you move that into 3.
if you move this into 3.
Okay.
See what I'm saying?
Mhm.
This is his in town. Everything else he has is in the county. Osborne and Hickory Grove are all in the county. This is the only one he would have
So
in
And then
town.
you'd be
what
eliminating-
do the
These-
voters that?
They voted
right-
on people.
These
Okay,
right
but you
here,
would take that away, yeah.
these right here on this side would come down here to Trinity. But these here would have to go to Osborne. If you take away their polling place.
And see, I wouldn't have. I've already got. That wouldn't give me but 2 polling places. All of them be in the county.
Unless we could find something else in, 2 is all up in the north part.
Yeah,
so-
it's hard to get rid of anything else from 2 without.
Unless you just do that one and leave that alone.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But I don't think that's enough people.
Yeah, that's not enough people.
You would have to give
and
up
I would
something
wanna-
somewhere else.
Yeah, I would wanna move mine back in if you're gonna take the whole,
Yeah.
if that's the deal.
Well, you're
Is that Plan 3 that y'all don't like?
well. Plan 2 and 3
Okay.
would get rid of his polling place, I guess.
Okay.
And I don't know of any other place there to find.
And why did y'all not think Plan 1 seemed to be the simplest? Why did y'all not think that was okay just to move Aspen Heights? I'm just asking.
I think it is. I think that's just
Plan 1 is the easiest.
It's the easiest, but that still sends that little swath of 3 across Highway 182 over into those apartments, and depending on what apartment you live in,
No, well, I
Well, I was
would,
gonna say,
I would
should
go
one-
back to on 1 and probably tweak on it, and we would have a Plan 1A.
Okay, here's the thing, and I'm just hypothetical, like what Supervisor Howard just said, that if we did Plan 1A, right, and you did the swap right there, where 3 and 1
And
meet,
we would
and
still
then
fix
still do
the-
the 1 and 4, right, that's not a big,
3 would still have, if we take that away from 3 though, that's in the city, where those apartments are, he's gonna have to pick up something, cause that's a lot of people he loses.
I'll give him some. We
No.
just big miles.
No.
No, I'm just kidding.
I'd have to sit back down on the drawing board if we went to
Okay,
one.
because yeah, you didn't.
Because
This is
he
still all.
picks up quite a bit of people from Orlando.
Well, I mean, to start with, one district's gotta give up some people.
Two's gotta
Supervisor
get-
Williams,
Were you still looking at
One. what was that?
Were they still looking
That's what they discussed.
We're going back to one at one now, right? We're going back to one plan one,
We're looking at it.
looking at it.
That definitely needs to come out of 3. It's no reason for that to be over in 3. It's gotta come out and straighten that line up on 182.
For Rolling Hills?
Put everything back into one on the south side of 182.
Yeah, now that needs to happen.
That's
And
gotta.
if you give up that amount of people, then you're definitely gonna have to be the one that picks up Orlando over.
That's gotta happen. There's no reason for that
I completely
to
agree.
be
And
there.
I don't
That's-
know what would happen.
Is that change on all the plans, or that was just on one plan?
I was just playing one.
Okay,
Because I moved a bunch of people.
that's for 3, right?
That fixes 2 at that point. 2 isn't on plan 1. 2 isn't under
The variance.
variances for, let's see, where's my plan 1?
Here's 130.
Yeah, but plan one fixes 4 and 1 and 4 too. I mean,
Nobody changes
Right.
but between 2
Just
and
the-
4.
oh, okay. So
And
we're not
plan
changing the
one.
line on
Plan one
between
changes
on
some residents and five.
That's right, it would be between 2 and 5, and that's the only changes between in plan 1.
so we're not changing the New Light Road deal.
That wasn't part of plan 1. But I would go back if y'all are starting to favor plan 1 and tweak on plan 1 and see what I could do.
That's not going to rock the boat a lot.
Not for
Not
us,
between
but
you.
it would just make it easier for people to know where
That
who
would
to call.
happen pretty much in any plan we do adopt.
It's like it's a few houses.
Now, you did say that Rolling Hill needs to be in either one.
It needs to be in
of
one or the other.
districts.
That's right.
So plan one would not, as it is, plan one as it is, would not
Took 'em, I
solve
took
that
cans
problem.
up there and I set 'em
And
on
then
fire.
what that would do, let me see what
Yeah,
that,
if you transfer all of them into plan, into
let me
District
see
Two,
what,
then that's gonna give District Two more people than he really need to be receiving.
everything that makes plan 2 and 3 good as far as the 182 apartments and then the new light road. The 182 wouldn't be able to happen in plan 1, I don't believe.
No, that's not gonna happen.
I would have, I'm about to open it and see.
Yeah.
But
That's not gonna happen.
Yeah, but it needs to happen, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Because that's that swath, this finger that sticks out and crosses 182 over now by Fast Break and goes all the way across over in Ladden and fingers off into those little apartments over there.
But he can do that without adopting plan number 1. Plan number 1 basically takes those apartments on the Mississippi State campus
Let me see what it.
and put them in 5. That's the basic thing that happens
Bear with
in
me.
plan 1.
Right, but it doesn't address the issue that I just
what he's talking
was just talking about.
Right.
Cross gates?
Yeah, cross gates.
That's behind.
Bear with me a second.
Well, I think too, it ought to be, we ought to, even if we have to change it a little bit, we ought to make it clearer lines, easier for people.
Not Aspen Heights. You know what I mean. Avalon.
And Plan 2 does that, but then it takes Orlando, takes away his
I didn't realize, I wasn't looking at that when we
precinct
did it, and
inside the
that,
city limits.
if I had realized that, I would have tried to do something different. And if there is no other place for Orlando to find a vote there, then that just doesn't, that part right here can't go unless we find him another place to vote.
Right, correct.
Toby, do we have to adopt this tonight?
No,
No, we
no,
got-
we haven't
we
had a
got
public
plenty.
hearing.
Okay.
Yeah, we got plenty of
No,
time.
no,
So,
we're.
so
we're-
what happens then, Toby, if you leave this in 2 and move
That's
this in
what-
3?
That's what I'm about to say.
Yeah.
Ooh, that moving this,
gives too many people.
well,
into
yeah,
three.
without a bunch of other stuff.
But if you take that
No.
swath off,
Let's see what
across
happens with
182.
Rolling Hills.
A little bit you talking about on 182, which page is that? Oh, that's going back to 3.
It's the one between 3 and 1.
That's on plan.
2 and 3, both of them.
That's plan 2 and 3. Yes.
see this,
Okay.
this is 182. So it crosses 182 and goes over into John's district.
Okay.
There it is.
Remember that happened 10 years ago when Carl was on the board and didn't nobody.
Well, and there's
wanna
little
give
blue
up anything.
squares and little green
Yeah.
squares and everything else in there.
Yeah,
We got apartments all divvied up into different,
Yeah.
and that's crazy.
it's
It's crazy.
back then, didn't it? And I agreed to go ahead and take that.
Building H and K might live right over here, and they're in different precincts.
And it makes a nightmare for people trying to
It did.
decide where they vote at.
It does.
If,
It needs to.
Well, and then it overloads their office because people are calling.
Absolutely.
It'd be
So
nice
that's
to
still
fix that.
doing the one on 182, Rolling Hills, and Aspen Heights. Still, it has us at 10.10%, and you being 682 under. So I would have to get you some more people. Orlando is perfect in this now. He's only 25 over. 4 is District 1 is 364 over. So you become the over and would need to give up a little bit more somewhere. Is there, and I'm not,
Say that again, Toby. If you move Rolling Hills into 3 and leave
You see how big that,
That little bit.
and leave
leave
that.
that in 2.
That fixes
Sunset.
Orlando's
You want
fine
Sunset?
now at that point.
yes.
But-
Only
but-
25
You
over.
want that drug
But
bus
if
in
you
Sunset?
take that-
Good job.
that
Last week or week before.
Area that goes across
Lady was throwing
182
it
out
over his
of
back
3.
fence when I came in there.
You are
Somebody back there fencing.
682 under
Good
after
job.
that. So you need to pick up a little something
I hear about them kind of things.
from 1, really, honestly.
But,
And
okay.
there's just,
Wonder if I can
But
send
where
something.
we're at right now, that still leaves Orlando a voting precinct in
yes,
Starkville.
yes, and that still works. That leaves him all of this.
You'd be amazed at how few.
Yeah, but-
Okay, but I don't, so how many,
You leave the voting precinct, but you have just depleted the number of folks that use it. So it would make it in effect.
And he went in his backyard. and he had a
Rolling
big
Hills
fence, and he was
has
pitching
a
carrots over the
total
back
of
fence, and John Michael was back there catching them as he threw them.
392 people. This area right here
I mean,
is
lots of
392
cash.
people.
as it
Big
sits, how many
bucks
of
and
those
bags
is
of
in 3?
marijuana, coke, crack, and money.
26 people live right here in this block.
It was a table full of stuff.
That's 3.
Yeah.
Sunset.
So,
There's all-
so if we
Sunset.
split Rolling Hill, that would give me some, take some away from you, but still give you a voting precinct. I'm just tossing around ideas right now.
Do I have to take more if we do that?
You're over by 239 people,
Okay.
which isn't bad. You're only 2.3%.
It's right here.
So and that's not moving that stuff between you and John, which we'll do that. On New Light Road.
It's gonna make it 232. I mean,
What's
it's
the,
not-
what you got here, Toby?
Yeah, north of
Let's see what
Hospital.
happens.
North of it?
Yeah,
This
north
ain't
of
gonna
Hospital.
help.
We can give John both sides of Longview Road.
That goes there.
I take it, we can just get in the creek and go down there and really get it.
Because it looks like
I'll
It's a
take
real
it. Why
place.
not? You know.
Huh?
before on
Actually, that
Brown's Hill.
works.
Wait a minute.
Oh, is it right up there? Okay.
All right. Plan 1A, we're going to call it.
I don't have that.
Moving Rolling Hills out of 2 into 3. Moving your stuff between you two along New Light Road. And moving out those apartments puts us at 9.8%. And that Aspen Heights going to 5.
But he keeps
And he
this
keeps
area,
that.
and he keeps that voting
He
precinct.
keeps
He
that
keeps
voting.
him a precinct vote and.
So 3 get all the Rolling Hills.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that puts us at 9.8%, but that puts you getting Aspen Heights. This
But
is
it-
taking,
but it's
That's
still
really not-
diminishing
that's
my
really
box in
not-
town. It's still diminishing it in town.
That's really not a fair.
how many registered voters do you think are in that?
And two?
Where, that vote here? That vote in the one that, how many registered voters would it be losing?
So you're
It's
losing
hard to
Rolling
say
Hills?
without.
No, Rolling Hills is my district.
Now, we could come back in our next meeting with Plan 1A, and she would know. We could have
Give me
that.
what streets they are.
So my proposal is to find a line that you can split.
Cause there's
Rolling
streets in here.
That's,
I'd
we're
have to get.
really done.
I'm trying to prevent that.
I'm trying to prevent that, Marvell, because it's split right now.
Mhm.
We're trying to put it all in either one or the other.
What about Plantation Homes?
It's all already in three.
Three.
Yeah, all of that's in
I'm
three.
saying, could you put that into 2?
He's already under 682 people, and that would just make him worse.
You can get some of the college students, the apartment. Now, that put me 52 over to get all of those
That
apartments.
has you at plus 5 too.
That's plus 5 too. That's
I'd have
not
to see
fair.
how
It
many
still
live here.
leaves someone
Is that
at
what
a
they're talking about,
negative
is how many live here?
514.
Mm-hmm.
Leaves him at negative
I
682.
can find that
Yeah,
out.
right. So he could take some of those college, those apartments
There's
What
not a
apartments
whole-
are you talking about?
on the college campus.
No, I can't take none of those apartments.
I don't think I could get him there. I
Why
don't
should I
think
take all of them and you don't take any of them?
Why should I give up all of this?
Give up all those.
Why don't
You're
we
not giving up
move-
anything.
why don't we, cause I'm over, right?
you're now you're 270 over.
And John's under or over?
He's 333 over.
Oh, he's over too. I was just gonna say, why couldn't we switch some of it up and move the districts up a little bit? So could Marvell get some of your district and,
No. Why don't,
I'm
since
just
Joe,
saying,
since Orlando is over, and
I'm
and
over
Joe
too.
needs some, right?
Orlando is in
I don't
Plan
need that if
1A.
you're doing one.
No, I'm
They're
saying
fine.
as it sits right now, he's
Yeah,
over.
benchmark.
So
He's
can-
way over. He's way under.
So can we go down in the Blackjack area, around Hickory Grove, Blackjack area, and move some voters in 2 and 3?
The problem with that is the blocks on the north side of Blackjack are ginormous. They go from Blackjack Road all the way to 182 and
But you,
82.
yeah, but you can't go in there and let's show me.
This
Cause
is-
now there's
these-
gotta
this
be a
is
way
where-
back down Hickory Grove and Blackjack area, and where these 2 districts can
This
be
is
moved.
where they touch the most.
Okay, so what about this block and this block?
He would have to come up to about right here
Okay, so what would that
to
do?
move all that. Right now, he's in Plan 1. You mean just from benchmark?
Mhm.
Like, so I may need to hook this up to that projector if that's what. For y'all to see if we're going to start
You have it?
really redistricting. Well, y'all, yeah. I mean, it's right there.
Well,
Well,
Plan 1 gave me 470
Not today.
70 students in Aspen Heights.
That's right.
470.
It's everybody that was in
Now-
Aspen
Right,
Heights.
so that
moved
put
in
me over.
by 51
over.
people.
That's right. So someone else could take some of those students too. I don't have to be. I
Well,
don't
we
have
don't
to
want
be
to
over.
split Aspen Heights between it either all stays or it all goes, but the only other place for him to start moving for what Mr. Williams is saying is for you to start picking up
But that ain't what I'm saying.
universities.
That's not what
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
saying.
and they start picking up some universities.
and I forgot about the
I already
retreat.
got fraternity houses out on campus.
The retreat was built too.
out there.
That was the big
Yeah, I
block.
do.
The
I
retreat
got
right there,
all-
Mayhew.
I
I
got
got
all-
fraternity
Yeah.
houses,
I got all the
over there off of Blackjack, I got some campus over there, some of those new apartments.
No, it's in.
All of it got octal, and I got blackjack.
Well, Mr. President, let's just table this and go on with the meeting.
Yeah.
We're not gonna be able to resolve anything tonight, but we know
Right.
we got plenty of time.
Because we've got to look at some scenarios back out around Hickory Grove and Blackjack area that we can do some moving around.
We know we gotta get it done. We're gonna get it done. We just can't get it done.
I mean, you gotta find, it's just a game of Tetris.
That's
You gotta
it.
find out that sweet spot.
And to be honest now, also doing this, you want to try to make it better on the voters too. Clean up some lines if you can, and get voters so they'll know where they're voting.
And not have to drive.
Well, that's true too, but I mean, to be frank with you and be honest and tell the truth, I'm really looking out for the incumbent.
I get it.
Yeah,
Because if he or she don't look out for themselves.
well, self-preservation.
But now they can only go so far.
Exactly.
So-
Because we know we don't own these seats.
Right,
for
that's
one.
true. That's true.
And
That is true. And
I don't mind taking some of Aspen Heights, but I think I'll split down the middle, and someone else take half of them. I know you shaking your head, but we have split apartments like that before.
That's why we're trying to fix that.
That's okay, but that's still,
That's very confusing.
that's still, that will do
period.
it though.
I mean,
But that will solve what we're
that'd be
talking
like
about.
half of an
But
old,
see,
you know,
Aspen Heights is by
Rolling
road,
Hills.
not by apartment.
or
Yeah, that's right.
That makes a big difference.
Yeah, that's,
But
we got streets down
to
there.
get him, there's a lot of area between Aspen Heights and 3. He would have to go through 2 apartment complexes completely, which one of them would be, what is University Commons? What did that turn into? Campus Trails, and then the one right beside it.
21.
so we'll
And then that would be
that ain't-
that's a whole bunch of people just to get him to Aspen Heights.
that ain't
By the
even
time I
feasible.
take all that in, he no longer needs Aspen Heights.
Because you can't skip over blocks
Mm-mm.
and do
And I-
it. They've got to be.
So do y'all want me to hook this up to the
Yeah,
projector?
they've got to touch.
we're gonna postpone it to next time.
Yeah, we're
Postpone.
gonna let you work on a couple more scenarios and tweak some
Alternatives.
stuff. Yeah.
What,
Show me, well, all right. I just want to know where you would like to see
yeah, you're looking on the area, what would be the
different
area?
things.
At some point, listen, we know we're not gonna be able to please everybody. So we've gotta come up with a good plan that's close, that's as fair as it can be and move forward with it.
How favorable are y'all seeing Aspen Heights move out of Orlando's?
Not favorable.
So I won't. Then we don't even need to try that.
Well, unless someone else want to take some of them, then I
We don't.
believe you can make it work if you worked at it. But some
So
of it-
Orlando, you have 1,000
I don't want to.
for
I don't
too many
either. I
people.
don't
Where
I just.
where would you like to see people giving up?
I just soon keep them off.
You don't have to give up all of them.
So, I mean, that's my,
And
you
you
know,
can see in Plan 1, we pulled about 600 people out of you, and that got you to 4.6%. So you can say around 500 is about 5% as far as what your percentage is. And the way you get that maximum percent is we have to add the lowest and the highest together.
Right.
So it doesn't matter if you're 5 and you're 5 and you're 5, it's the highest and the lowest. So if I can get 500 people out of 2, that does bring you down to about 5%.
And you can do it, but
The rub's gonna
Where
be,
you
how
want
can you get
rub.
them out of his area and not affect?
So I can do this without, and we do have to worry about Joe's minority percentage. You can't get around
That's why
that.
I asked you.
Well,
To look at
Plan
it
1
next
does
time.
drop him 2%.
that's right.
Yeah.
But you do have a great minority percentage in Plan 3. Plan 3 is not bad.
That's right.
with a
Plan
minority
3 doesn't
percentage.
actually
So
affect
you
you
got
at all.
about the same.
That's right. I don't move.
2 and 3 is about the same in terms of minority percentage, so that's not really a bad
In
deal.
Plan 3,
That's not really a bad deal.
we don't change you at all.
I know.
Nothing moves in or out of you, and that's what I do like that because it
But-
keeps you at benchmark.
But look at 2 in terms of minority percentage though. They're about the same. There's not that much of a difference really to make up.
It raises Orlando. Oh, it drops Orlando 2%, and it raises Marvell about
raises
2%.
Marvell, so, you know, you get.
So it makes them about even.
It makes them about even, so I don't see what's the problem with that? They're about even in terms of, minority percentage, if that's what he's looking for.
That's right.
We're talking plan,
3 is what he's looking
Plan
at.
3.
But if Plan 3 was even considered, we would have to find Orlando another place
Another
to vote
voting precinct.
in
Yeah,
town.
that's
Hey,
right.
can,
So
can
I'm
there
sure
be
that can be
another
done.
voting precinct found?
I mean, yeah, you could, it'd just be a matter of finding something that would work.
And it would let us be there.
With the fire station,
3.
could it go back to the fire station?
What, 3?
No, the state won't let us have it, because it's not heated and navigation.
You need to get with the city
That's
on
right,
that,
remove.
yeah,
I thought
because there
all
may
fire
be some other
stations
issues in
had
there
at
too.
least heat.
That's right.
And I slept in
That's why
that
we
place
moved
forever.
Turkey Creek to,
Don't fire stations have to have heat?
No.
They're unmanned right
They
now.
gotta be above freezing.
But now, we don't put in these massive heaters on drain propane.
Or air conditioners.
That are,
and that's not good for these machines, it's not good for the workers that have to sit out there for 13 hours.
What, is there another alternative that you know of?
Well, there's another church, isn't there, Miles, that you was talking about?
Come out on Gary's Road.
Covenant Church on.
And what it would be is this area right here.
Right, isn't there another church up in there?
Yeah, right, on New Covenant Church.
Oh, yeah, right past the fire station.
Right past the fire station up there.
There's one right past the fire station.
Big
It sits
church
back
on the
up
hill.
off the road.
That would
Plenty of
still be
parking there.
interior.
I think so.
By the Plan 3, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like 200 yards from Rolling Hills entrance. I mean, but you'd have to get that.
Yeah, that seems to be the only issue now, to find, a voting precinct for.
If we go with
supervisor
Plan
training, so
3 or Plan 2, either one, would have to
So-
find Orlando
So
another
we
voting
can, I
place.
think you can work that out other than today, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah.
I won't, we'll wait to hand out anything else, but the good news is the justice courts do not need redistricting. Initially, I thought they did.
We're not gonna have a forum.
I was wrong, Rob wasn't clear on that. It is a big judge, circuit court judge is what he was talking about.
County court.
Countywide.
County.
It would be a county
That would be
judge,
countywide.
County.
County.
Okay.
and the justice courts and the constables stay the same.
Oh, good.
Constables, everything.
If you adopt Plan 2 or 3, the justice court line would move to follow New Light Road. Because currently it follows that section line.
Yeah.
So if we go with Plan 2 or 3, the justice court line would need to do that exactly what the supervisor district lines do between y'all two.
I thought we were gonna even still do like 1A. We would do
Yeah.
that regardless.
No, well, I'm just saying that if you adopt Plan 1 as it sits, there is no justice court change. If you adopt Plans 2 or 3 as they sit now, the justice court line would need to follow y'all's 2 lines. And if we do, which it sounds like that's something y'all want in any plan that we do end up with, then the justice courts are gonna have to follow y'all.
Okay.
And that's a small change. I mean, it's very, very,
Minute.
minute, but that's good. The justice courts don't have to do anything unless y'all create a split between them.
That's what I don't want to do.
So,
So
What are you wanting me
I think
to do
we've
here?
sort of settled on
What-
Plan 2 or 3. Go ahead.
Yeah, but can you go back and, all the things we talked about, like several different options, can you tweak the options that we talked about and then come back to us?
in
And
Plan
then-
1,
Yeah, but 1, then 2, and if you'll just, all the things that we threw out, kind of rework and take what we suggested, and then if you see something else that really looks like it would be a good idea, bring it back and let us see that.
And
I think
at
it's-
this- but at this time, we need to be sort of trying to look for a voting precinct, because we
Especially if
kinda
you're
like that.
considering
It's really
2 or
hard to
3.
get into Mount Pelion too.
Are most churches receptive to
that would be
becoming
moving.
When he tried to move
It's a
his, he
beauty
didn't have any
savings
luck.
I mean,
We tried to use where the
It wouldn't
old car lot
help
used
if
to
we
be,
moved for Orlando.
and then where they put the new church on the other side of the highway.
Well, that's I guess Church of Latter-day Saints, and they don't, they're strictly no politics
But
whatsoever.
where the car lot used to be,
Yeah.
Pine
Lake.
yeah, they didn't want us.
Michelle, when we have to have a county court judge, is that gonna be, is it a certain district that the county court
No,
has?
it-
Is
it-
it gonna
it's
be all
encompassing
county?
county.
Okay.
So it wouldn't affect that county
No.
court judge? Okay.
No. It's gonna be the go-between justice court and circuit court. It'll take like the,
But it'll be countywide, it won't be
Yes.
certain districts? Okay.
So it does seem like you need more time to kind of tweak things. And,
We can now.
make
Well,
things
we
work
can do
for-
some work to one, but Mr. Williams doesn't want Aspen Heights, so there really isn't any reason for me to do anything to one. Plan one really is just plan one, or and then 2 and 3.
I think we can make 3 work, and I believe Supervisor Howard will eventually be pleased with that, and we'll talk about how we can do that. Make
You think you can get me please?
I think
Well, I'm not.
Well, I don't see unless you're gonna agree to make an adjustment in yours. You saying you're not gonna make an adjustment.
that's what no. We said that we think
That's what you said.
I'm going to adjust anyway with plan
I'm just sitting there listening.
Plan 1 is going to adjust it anyway.
Toby,
So,
every supervisor's not gonna like something, so you can't base your plan based on, cause the
That's right.
supervisors don't
That's
like it, or don't want it.
It's the best fit. Get it worked out.
So it sounds like what we just
I think
we
at this
need to
point,
find
we,
another voting place. Is what it
That's what
sounds
it,
like.
yeah.
Is what
I
we really
think if
come
we
down
can
to.
find another
Yeah.
voting place, we can sort of
yeah.
tweak and make
yeah.
something work in there.
See, I'd like to have more,
I think we need to make a motion to acknowledge. Do we acknowledge or acknowledge Mr. Sanford's presentation?
Second.
Motion by Supervisor Miller, second by Supervisor Trainer, that we acknowledge Mr. Sanford's presentation on redistricting. All in favor? Motion carries 5-0.
Can I get that plan
Now,
going from you back, Toby?
Mr. Lewis will be getting in touch with you to schedule some time for another
That's
redistricting
it.
meeting.
We'll miss.
Is that
Lois will
okay?
get with you,
Mr. Lewis, okay.
and we'll come back.
Cheryl, in the meantime, can you be checking for something else in District 2 that could be an option for a voting place?
Yeah.
So I'll
Look at
get
that
with you
church
on that
out there and
also.
get with Orlando,
Okay.
go talk to those people.
Sounds good.
See if they'll let us go there.
Thank you.
That was good.
Okay, thank you.
Toby, we appreciate what you
Yeah.
do, man.
Yes, sir.
No,
I
this
try.
ain't-
I
this
know.
ain't an easy task here,
Yeah.
but we'll get it worked out.
The mayor of Macon told me a long time ago, Jesus Christ couldn't please everybody. Don't expect that you can.
But we do appreciate what you do, man.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Old people hate it.
Yeah, I'm telling you, on time.
Moving forward, we had a good redistricting meeting and moving forward. Next on the agenda is Green Home Solution, Mr. Michael Keaton.
If I can keep it together.
Yes, sir.
I bought these today and they've been falling apart on me, so I think I got enough for everybody.
Okay. All righty, okay, we need one here.
We got some extra.
Other, okay. I didn't know if I had enough. Make sure I have 20. Here. So, Michael Keaton, Green Home Solutions. We're an indoor air quality company. A lot of that has to deal with mold remediation. And I had a call early October from Mr. Lois that said that y'all may or may not have a problem with mold in this building. And she wanted me to come out and do some air sampling at that time. So I came out on the 26th and actually I performed 2 different types of tests. One of them is we use an aerosol air sampling kit that traps spores inside of it, and it will tell us if there's mold and then what those levels are of the mold. Then the other one is a new diagnostic tool we have that will test for VOCs, your particulates, the carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, temperature, and humidity levels. And that kind of gives us an overall picture, because it may or may not be mold, giving somebody some upper respiratory issues, some sinus issues. It could be something like a VOC. VOC is just basically your chemicals, your paints, your solvents. We'll dive into this in a minute, but you'll see in a couple of the pages the VOC levels came back elevated. Well, guess what they were doing the day when I was doing the testing? They were cleaning, they were mopping. So that's, I don't want you to look at it and be alarmed. That's what caused that spike. So, and that's good to know, and that's what we find out. So the first part, as I said, is the certificate. Just kind of, everybody always asks me, what's your license, what's your certificate? The great state of Mississippi and many states don't require a license. However, our company, we're franchised, we're statewide, United States wide, and some states do require it. So I've had over 80 hours of training in the field and about 60 hours in classroom training, and they feel that all of us have to have this ACAC accredited certification that deals with indoor air quality issues, not just mold. It could be something as simple as, I heard somebody mention propane tank gas heater. That can put off VOCs, which could cause people issues. So we cover the whole spectrum of indoor air quality, which is really important, because if people feel they're having issues, they're going to Google their issues, and it's going to come back mold, and then they're dying, which isn't always the case. So the first page is where I did a sample up here with the air device. And you see under health that it talks about particles. That's your dust mites. If you have bugs or cockroaches, they flake off particles. Those type of things get airborne, and they can cause issues with folks. You can see there's 4 little areas of health concerns. When the daily average is above 10 micrograms per cubic meter, that can cause or trigger some allergy or asthma symptoms. What we found in here, the levels were below that. Okay, and you can see on the left there's a little a green, yellow, or red. Green being the best, yellow being an area of concern, and red really being concerned. Potential causes could be activities in the home or work, presence of excessive particulate sources, dust, pets, that type of thing. Maybe having an infestation of cockroaches in the home. Heating or cooling system issues. Okay, as I understand it, this is an older building. Heating and cooling probably hasn't been updated in many years, and that can cause issues. Those dust particles can get trapped in there. As of this point, and this is just a generic, in other words, recommended actions. If we see something that we feel needs action, then these are the specific actions we could take. And some of them I can do, some of them I can't. But one would be inspect ductwork, seal and clean. Probably a HVAC company. Although we do duct cleaning, HVAC is better to look at your ductwork and making sure it's airtight. Install HEPA filtration system. That will capture 99.997% of these spores or particulates in the air, so they don't get airborne. Or use, if you're at home, using your exhaust range while you cook is highly recommended. The utensils we use to cook with, the skillets, that metal can flake off, and believe it or not, we're not seeing it, but it can get airborne and cause issues with folks. The second area on this floor was the chemicals. That's the VOCs. Again, you see it slightly elevated. That was because they were mopping that day. So we suspect that was what caused that. Otherwise, you wouldn't have an issue there. The third one is carbon dioxide. It's going to be like that everywhere I go, and that's the air we breathe. We just naturally, if I were to test this room right now, it would probably come back very high, because we're 20 people in here, 20 plus, and we're just all putting that off. So the way to do that is get fresh air. That's how you overcome that. Get fresh air. You can install energy return ventilation system, or heat return ventilation system into the air duct, where it brings air from the outside, exchanges it with air on the inside, and cleans that up and helps folks. Then the next one is comfort, and talks about temperature and relative humidity. Temperature was fine. However, the relative humidity was a little high for our liking. We like to see humidity between 30 to 50% relative humidity, and this had it here. 50, yeah, so it's not bad, but we like to see that in that 30 to 50% range.
So what would you say? I know what would contribute to that?
Well, a couple of things. Humidity is moisture, right? And so people always think of humidity as just for what we get outside. But if you've ever taken a shower and you don't use your exhaust fan when you shower, what happens to your window? It steams up because that hot is hitting the cold. So I know for a fact that in here, in this area, I was told that this court stays closed for maybe 2 weeks at a time. And whatever the air is set on, if it's set low, because you really want to keep that between 70 to 75% on the dial, but if somebody set it lower and it runs constantly for 2 weeks, you know, and it's the top of the building, that hot and cold can change and meet, and you get dew point and you get moisture. You don't necessarily see it dripping, but if you'll look in there, there is some areas that appear to have mold at one time where they've used bleach. That is discussed later in here what we think about bleach. It's not a good action to take. So that's what happens to a lot of homes. For instance, this past summer with COVID, a lot of churches shut down, and smaller churches don't have the budget, so they turn the air off. That no air circulation with a hot building, they had mold and when I say everywhere, I mean hymnals, drums, chairs. It was everywhere. And the only thing to do, action they could take is one of two things: put a dehumidifier, which helps lower that, or run their air conditioner, because that's your best dehumidifier. And make sure the HVAC has been serviced annually. Changing the filters, making sure the ducts are cleaned, making sure it's running properly. Because if it's not cycling or giving you air exchanges like it should, that's going to cause issues.
Exhaust fans and turn on the lights helps too, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. It does. Yeah, and you know, that's a tip I always give folks. And like, well, I forget to turn my exhaust fan in the shower. I said, well, just tie it to your light switch and it comes on and off. You know, takes care of the problem. And then the last one's carbon monoxide, and this is a level we don't want to see anywhere but the green, because if it was anywhere else, we'd all need to leave. You know, it's a very dangerous chemical. Fortunately, there's no issues here on any floor. The second one report was the same type of report, only dealt with the first floor. And here you'll see the chemicals again. There was cleaning going on, so that the VOCs were a little high. Your particles were fine. The carbon dioxide was a little high, but if I remember correctly, that's where a higher concentration of workers spend their time. There's a tax assessor's office and a mapping office down there, and there's probably a lot more workers. Again, we just naturally breathe carbon dioxide. It gets airborne. It can build up over time. Fresh air is the remedy to that. Then you go to the next page here. Really, we don't see anything as far as temperature, relative humidity, or carbon monoxide. But again, we wanted to take this test in conjunction with the mold sampling to make sure that we're kind of capturing everything and we're not just leaving something out. One thing about mold, and I'll kind of jump ahead, EPA doesn't have a standard level of what's safe or not safe. So they kind of leave it up to individuals. And it depends on everybody's sensitivity, and I'm not talking about your feelings, I'm talking about, you know, how sensitive you are to airborne particles. Usually the four people that are affected are your elderly, pregnant women, smaller children, or people who already have a pre-existing lung or upper respiratory issue. So those are people who you have to watch out for, who could be susceptible. I'll come up with mold in any room. Now, we like to see the levels below 1,000 spores per cubic meter. When they start to go above that, then we feel like we need to take some action to get them back down. And I'll get into the air samples in a little bit, but I just kind of wanted to bring that up, that as far as mold, the EPA doesn't have a standard that says this is what's safe or this is what isn't safe. It's really left up to the individual. So it affects everybody differently. You know, we all could be exposed to mold, and 10 of us are fine, but one of us gets really sick. It's almost like COVID in a way, where some people got really sick, some people didn't. And then the last one was this is where I started in the basement. In the basement, because it probably doesn't have any activity in there that often, a lot of records are stored in there. One thing I can say with all that cardboard, if you can, it's probably better to store that stuff in a plastic container. Cardboard is a haven for mold and cockroaches, but mold really loves that fibrous material. So we always recommend, if you can, spend the money, get you some plastic containers to keep those records in, if that's possible. It just helps prevent that. Because once it starts there, then it's going to get into the records, and you know, you want to keep those records safe.
Is there anything on these pages which indicate which floor?
It doesn't. This device, and one thing I like about it is it doesn't indicate the address I'm at. Everything's, you know, private. But I can tell you on this front page, what I did was the first 2 pages, because there's only 2 pages for this report, were the second floor, The next 2 pages are the first floor, and then
Gotcha, okay.
yeah. Probably should have gone back in the computer and maybe notated that, but the report itself doesn't notate it. Now, when we move forward, you're going to see the mold view report. That's page 1. It'll look like this. If you'll notice on the table of contents, I said I only included the first 6 pages. I do have 7 through 24 available. Half of those pages are going to give us the same information only in the bar graph, and the other half are going to explain the types of mold that are out there, what can cause them, and how, what if they're toxic or not toxic. But if we go in here, I did label these as we took them on page 5. And the first, you'll see the mapping and appraisal. So that we set the machine up there in that area. Coming down, if it's rare, I don't see Aspergillus penicillin. It's 2 different types of mold, but they're very similar. That's probably the most common type of mold I see. But you can see 200 spores per cubic meter, very low. People freak out sometimes, but it's rare I ever see a 0. It's just we naturally bring it in. If you have pets at your home, they bring it in. Kids bring it in. We open doors. We like to keep open windows. So nothing jumped out on this page as far as the mapping and appraisal area. Then we took one at tags and taxes. Same thing. Nothing really jumped out there. Everything was at 200 or below. In the basement, a little higher at 400 spores per cubic meter, but nothing again that we feel. If I were to remediate, I'd almost feel like I'm taking your money because it's hard to get it below that 400. That's just my honest opinion. It's going to elevate back up just because people go down there. I imagine you have a lot of farmers in this area. Aspergillus penicillium is grown in crop areas. Also, what you see on food a lot, cheese.
I see on here that you didn't do the Chancery Clerk's office.
I didn't. Was that because I asked that day and they said here and here. I did do the courtroom, the supervisor's room, and then of course I have to take one outside. If you feel that's an area of concern, I guess I didn't ask or I wasn't explaining that that
I
was
just
an area.
thought Daryl said that the machine that you had did every office, but okay.
No. I did do the courtroom, and here was the only area that was really of concern. As you can see, the Aspergillus penicillin was elevated again because there appears to have been a mold at one time. Probably, again, a lot of folks coming in, they could bring that in. We feel we could get that down to under 1,000, closer to that 500 range. The only room I would consider doing a remediation in. When we do remediation, we would contain that room. We'd put up a couple air scrubbers, and they're basically scrubbing the air clean. We're trying to get 7 to 8 air exchanges an hour, so each time it comes through, it's cleaner and cleaner and cleaner. We do that while we're vacuuming and cleaning and wiping things down. Even if we don't see mold, we like to do that. And then finally, we would treat that room with our product, which I have a safety data sheet on it, so you know what we're using. It is plant-based, it is USA made, but it is EPA registered to kill mold, and it works. I mean, it's a great product.
If you came back and tested that room and it had been opened and used once, so do you think it still would test that high? I mean, if you came back and you say we used it today or yesterday or the next day, and we opened it up and ran the air conditioner, and you came back and tested it, you still think it would be that high?
The spores, the thing with mold, people, they always say, I don't see mold. Well, we always say, if you see mold, the problem's worse than you think. Because spores are so microscopic. Literally, think of a grain of sand, 10 times smaller than that. So when we bring them in, they get on our carpet, they get on our clothes, they get on our furniture, especially the fiber stuff, cloth material, and it sits there, and it may or may not, I'm not a doctor, give us some allergy symptoms. So until we either vacuum them out and then treat it, they just still sit there. When you start to see it grows, when you start to have that moisture issue, like at the churches, they probably had that mold sitting there forever.
Yeah, but I guess the reason I asked that is because you said, that room was higher because it sits idle for 2 weeks at a time.
With the air.
Right.
Yeah, now if you were to and that's something I would tell you, if you said, okay, we want you to remediate it, I'm going to say, we got to come up with a plan because it's going to come back, and I don't want to, I don't like to treat it and have to keep coming back. Right. And you don't want to have to keep me coming back.
The way system is, our air conditioning and heating, like right now, we have it cut off. You can either have the air going, or you gotta have the heat going, because it's a boiler system, and they have to drain it.
Gotcha.
So right now, we don't have air or heat.
Yeah, and that's the tough one because, you know, in some cases I'll tell folks to get a thermostat that has a timer on it, and it will blow, the fan will just blow to circulate air. But in this case, how do you do that? And I know when I talked to Daryl, he said he had to go down there when it changed from hot to cold to change the pipes down there. And, you know, your best case might be there to add a dehumidifier. There's two types of dehumidifiers that are sold. Some that you have to drain, okay? That gets old. And then some you can drain into a toilet or a sink or somewhere else that's going to, but again, you have that cord, you know, but it would be hidden. That would be certainly a fix based on your circumstances right now. I don't think there were ceiling fans. That may help too, just to get air circulating, installing some ceiling fans. Because again, you want that air, you know, we have a saying, it kind of sounds corny, but the best solution to indoor air pollution is dilution. And the way you dilute it is get that air moving. You know, kind of going back to the churches, they sat there, nobody was there, air wasn't moving, mold started growing, moisture started growing, other things were happening. So that's what you want to see, is get that air moving. Ceiling fans would be a great fix too. And plus, I mean, people may like that, you know. But based on your current, you know, boiler system, it's just, you're not going to be able to have a thermostat that's going to fix it or help remediate it. And then, of course, you see outside, we go to the supervisor's boardroom, that was in here. Nothing to report. You're all safe. I always tell people that, because people, when I start to talk, people get like, mold, oh my God, I'm dying. Please come home tonight. But and then you'll see outside, that's our base, and we compare it to it, and it was high at 20, and we expect that in these cases.
So it's not as much hot air let off in here as we think.
No, sir. No, sir.
But there is a percentage of it in here, Marvin.
Yeah, I know.
It's a high percentage.
So, and then the last few pages, it talks about Oceanic, our product, 10 facts about mold, and then reasons why you shouldn't use chlorine bleach, because everybody wants to use chlorine bleach. That's the old school. We all we do is really indoor air quality. We study mold. We're kind of the newer, thinner TV, where some mold remediators are using the old big TV, and that's their solution. And we're finding that they don't work. I've been in too many homes I've had to retreat. We just had this treated 5 years ago. And our big thing is we don't want to just treat it. We want to stop it. We want to help you prevent it. Just like if you were coming to me as a doctor, you know, the doctor says, Michael, you have high blood pressure, we can give you medicine, but really if you want long-term prevention, lose some weight, you know, exercise. And that's what we want to do, is come up with a plan for you to keep that from coming back. And then on here, you can see on our safety data sheet, there's 4 little areas. They, flammability, reaction, health, and then the minimal hazards, the last one, but we score low on all of them except health, and I assume that's just because we're not going to test it on humans to see how they react. When we do use it, we always wear masks to protect ourselves. But our product has been one of the things about our product that versus others is it's catatonic. Big fancy word. All that means is as long as mold is present, it continues to work. Some products are stoichiometric, meaning they work for a short period of time. And think of peroxide. Remember, you know, it fizz, and then that's it, it's done working. So as long as mold is present, it continues to work. Does it work forever and ever? No, because mold's not present. So the mold can't come back unless we remediate the real problem, which is the moisture issue. So y'all have any questions? I know I kind of flew through that.
So a basic recommendation from you to reduce any of that number right there, the penicillin number, would be a dehumidifier.
To help prevent it from getting worse. It's not going to reduce it. It needs to be properly remediated. Where somebody
I just
comes
have
in.
one at Lowe's that, I mean, and it doesn't feel that often. It's not like you have to dump it that.
And that size of room, you know, you don't want to size it appropriately, just like you would an HVAC system. So that size of room, I'd look at a 40 to 60 pint dehumidifier that will help prevent that issue.
And leaving the lights on and circulating the air helps tremendously.
Mm-hmm.
if you got an area that,
But what can happen, especially in the summer, because we're in the south, right? People will leave it and maybe they have it turned down to 72 because they're trying to cool a room before a court session, and they're cooling it too quick. You ever put ice in a glass and then put water in it? What happens to outside the glass? It condensates because that ice and water is trying to cool the outside of that glass so quick. You get condensation. The same thing happens in there. People walk in their home. It's a hot day. They've been on vacation maybe. They turn the air down to 65 because they're going to get it down cool and comfortable quickly, right? Condensation starts to form, and that's where you start to have a problem. So you want to keep it on a nice between 70 and 75 in there. Humidity levels between 30 to 50. I mean, if it bounces up to 55, that's okay, but when it starts getting 60, 65, 70, 70 is where you start to see mold growth.
So this is overall, this is a pretty good report.
Oh, absolutely.
And
Yeah.
and the reason we asked for this report because we had some concerns from some employees that thought maybe the air quality was pretty bad in here. So that's why we asked you to come. But overall,
Yeah, nothing jumped out other than that one room, but otherwise everything else looked fine. And I was, based on what I knew, I was kind of expecting that area in the mapping to come out, but it didn't. I even saw what I felt was mold in the basement on the pipes. Okay, it's pipes, the metal changes hot and cold, right? And but the test results didn't yield that. But it was mold down there. Now, you know, to help prevent that, maybe insulate those pipes. Could have been just dust that had settled there when they got some condensation on it. So, and I always tell everybody, I will never say 100% it's mold. It appears to be mold. We have to do testing to, you know, there's some telltale signs with mold, but in that case, it was kind of hard to tell. So, but it came back with the test and it was nothing down there in that basement area. So, yeah, overall, if your employees were to ask your people here, so the guy was here and there's nothing that really jumped out of area concerns.
And there's no need to retest then.
Except for my office
Except
didn't
your
get
office.
tested.
Yeah.
Well,
Now, if you felt we, you know,
This came about because of the tax assessor. In his staff, I wasn't aware of you having
Oh, I just thought that
concerns.
they were gonna do all of it. That's what Daryl told me.
the whole courthouse is on the same system,
It
though,
is,
right?
it
And
is.
see, that was the concern. They were thinking that the air that was being
It's the same air
put
that's
into the
flowing in your
rooms
whole
were
system,
bad.
yeah.
So, I mean, your office is getting the same air that he
Everybody.
tested
Everybody.
in other areas, yeah.
the you know, the thing with the water-based, the boiler system is water, right? And you know, there's been, and I'm not saying this is the case here, but Legionnaire's disease usually comes when you have a water tower cooling system. You know, the water gets stale. So I don't think that's it. I'm just saying that you know, potentially there could be other issues. It probably raises some humidity because it's water. You know. So the best thing is to, again, circulation.
and when water sits for a little while and you turn something on, it makes it smell really bad.
Yeah. Well, I had a call the other day from somebody who turned her heat on the first time and she swore
Oh, yeah.
that her system needed to be
And they thought their
cleaned.
sewage was loose.
And I said, no, it's just that dust that settled and it's burning off, and it will go away. If it doesn't go away, call the fire department. Don't call me, because then you have a bigger problem. But
Sure.
Yeah, I wouldn't see any need. You know, if you consider the courtroom here, but that's the only one that jumped out. But everything else came across as really good.
So do you have a price to remediate this?
I that day I came out and I never think that far ahead because I try to be upfront and honest and working in the bank for 8 years, transparent. And yeah, I'm here to make money, but at the same time, I'm not here to take advantage of folks. So I didn't have a plan ahead of time. I want to see the results and then kind of get a measurement or two and get my eyes back on it before I did. I could have that for you tomorrow. But we would come in, we follow all the rules and protocols for remediation that are laid out by the IICRC S520 protocols. We contain that room. In other words, nobody has to leave. We contain everything in there. Our product is, again, it's safe as long as we use as directed. That means we're not going to be drinking it or eating it like a Tide Pod. It's odorless. They wouldn't even know we're using it. Everything that we do, because we're containing it, stays in there. When we leave, we remove our we decontaminate ourselves, and we leave the containment up for about 3.5 hours because we want to let this mist dissipate. We'd have 1 or 2 scrubbers going. We'd have a couple fans going to get that air circulating, get it moving around. Because anything we do, we want to capture. That could be dust, mold, particulates. We want to trap all that in there and give it a clean bill of health. And then finally, we'd come in and treat it.
and then you would give us some recommendations on what we need to do.
Yeah, and
to make sure that
thinking there honestly,
help try to keep.
Oh, absolutely, because that's the last thing we want to do is have it come back. You know, now I always give a year warranty on what I do, and people have called me and said, "I swear it's coming back," and it's a different issue, maybe a different leak. You know, which I can't guarantee it's not going to happen. You can have a roof leak causing mold, but I'll still come out and take a look. I just rather build relationships and help folks, just like you guys and girls are here. Spending time, you could be at home watching Monday Night Football, right? People, they don't always get it, but yeah, we would give recommendations to prevent it. That's the big thing is prevention. I mean, anybody can treat it, but you don't want it to keep coming back. So, I also had brought, I don't know if y'all needed it or not, certificate of liability insurance. I didn't know if there was a lawyer present, but if y'all needed that.
Well, thank you for your help and thank you for this real good presentation and a good report.
Thank you.
And a good report that you've given. The board have a motion in regards to that.
Well, are we gonna?
Mr. Lewis is gonna take care of that invoice. I know you have an invoice on here.
Right. Do we want him to give us a quote on this room over here? To remediate this room?
Well, I didn't think the levels were high enough to need that.
Well, they're 2,300 spores per cubic meter. That's almost 3 times what we like to see. We like to see it, ideally in perfect world, under 500 spores per cubic meter. Realistically, under 1,000 for sure. If they were at 1,500, I'd say no, but at 23, it's something to consider. You know.
So I'm going to ask you this. If we changed the way we did things in there before you tested it again, would it make that 2,300 come down? So in other words, if we opened once, a week, we open that room up, and we put some ceiling fans or anything like that, is that going to make that number come down?
Make that number
turn the lights
come
on
down is fresh air, getting fresh air from outside.
Fresh air, yeah.
And I don't know if there's windows in there. I don't
There's
think
one
there are.
window.
Window. But otherwise, it needs to be remediated to get those loaded. And then we do a post test. Now, the post test we do 5 days after we remediate. Do it for a couple. If I did it the same day, the results would be really good. But we want to make sure we got a good kill. Because if we didn't, we want to retreat it right away.
You felt like you could get it from 23 down to at least 1,000?
Mm-hmm. Under 1,000 is what we. Mm-hmm. We shoot for 500, but I never make any guarantees. But under 1,000, I mean, and again, if it came back at 1,500, I would tell you, I could treat it and get it down under 1,000, but it's probably going to get back up just over time. Until you make those changes. But even then, the fact that there's a courtroom where people come and go when they do use it, and they may be coming from work, and if they work in the fields, if they work around plants, they could be bringing.
So I'm going to ask you this. If you put a window unit in there, you're talking about fresh air. If we put something in there and they turned it on pretty often, would that help eliminate the problem?
Window units, no.
Okay.
Because
something in a window? I mean, because we've got a window, or just opening the window up?
Open the window.
Okay.
You could probably rent a scrubber, and lower that number, an air scrubber, but you've got to stir it up. The way to do that would be when you vacuum, we use a HEPA vac that captures 99.997% of those spores, but some of them still get airborne. So that would certainly help if there's something you're thinking, what can we do? Look at getting a good scrubber for a few days and then have them do a deep clean on the carpet and stuff.
Well, I don't think it'll hurt.
What you want to do?
I don't think it'll hurt to at least let him get a quote on what it would charge to remediate.
Well, I've got court going on tomorrow, so we can't do it tomorrow.
No, I could have a quote and just whenever you decide, if you said, oh, let's move forward or not. Only thing that hurt my feelings. No, I'm teasing.
Well, at least
No,
get a quote
Sure.
and she can let us know what you what.
No,
what
absolutely,
it would cost, what it would cost.
absolutely. But the big thing is take those steps because it's going to be back
Yeah,
there.
that's what, could we take those steps and then have you to come back and post test?
We could now that would be a step to take. Okay, before we decide a remediation, have me come back to see. Honestly, don't believe the levels would drop enough. That's why I said it could help putting a scrubber in there. It could help open a window, but until it's really remediated and you have something to kill those spores.
Okay, it needs to be remediated. It needs to be remediated.
And based on the findings, what I saw around those two diffusers in the ceiling, then you've got what appeared to be mold. But again, when we do remediation, we one thing about our company, we don't look at just coming in and what we call trashing back, tearing things out and leaving a mess. Matter of fact, that's one of the things that attracted me to the company is we try to do very little demo. That just keeps the cost down.
Supervisor Howard,
If
was that a
that's the-
motion for
Yeah,
bringing mediation?
Yeah, at least a quote.
Motion by Supervisor Howard, second by Supervisor Montgomery, that we get a quote for remediation of, let's name the room.
The courtroom.
The courtroom, remediation of the courtroom.
Small.
I think it's small and big.
There's a bigger one.
Big one, okay. Motion for the big one. All in favor?
Thank you.
Motion carries 5-0.
Yes, thank you. Have a good evening.
Yes, sir. Take care.
Can I get a motion to acknowledge Mr. Michael Keaton's report? Motion by Supervisor Trainer, second by Supervisor Miller, that we acknowledge Mr. Keaton's report. Any questions? All in favor? Motion carries 5-0. Now, we do have Mr. Ellis, Representative Ellis, and we don't want to keep Representative Ellis long because we asked him to do some free work. No pay attached, so we don't want to just keep you here. So if you don't mind if you would come forward, we're still waiting on Mr. Bob Daniels,
He's supposed to be here 5:30.
I believe. So if we can go ahead on and take, if it pleases the board, we can go ahead on and take Representative Ellis now. Representative Ellis?
Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening.
Well, we're certainly glad to have you to come forward. We have an appointment to make to the Golden Triangle Link board, and certainly your name came up, and of course we had another individual to come up also. So without further ado, would you just basically tell us a little bit about yourself, and I'm sure some of the other board members will have some questions from you too, but you tell us something about yourself.
Well, I'm better at answering questions than I am talking about myself. I can first say that. But first of all, I consider it an honor having been asked again to serve. Seems like that's all I do is serve, but I've been doing it all my life. But nevertheless, the link, and I have a past, we have history. From server stall to Aurora Flight Sciences, and the helicopter place, and several others. But it's something that's in my DNA that I just have a passion for. Now, when I say server stall, I'm talking about SDI. And then with the amenities or the infrastructure that goes along with it, I think my former colleague can attest to the works that's been done by myself and my colleagues over the years to help to get the development in the Golden Triangle generally, more specifically, I think, concentrated on Lowndes County. However, with this Golden Triangle Link appointment, I would consider it more specific of Tippecanoe County and more generally Golden Triangle. But I've been in industrial development and economic development pretty much all my life, so that's all I know about myself right there.
Very good. Does anyone else like to have anything that you'd like Representative Ellis to call his attention to?
Well, I mean, and you touched on it, but I just wanted to ask you, what do you feel like you could bring to that appointment and bring to economic development? And I do know your back, and I think everybody know your history and your background for working down in Jackson.
Okay. Well, that's a plus right there. The link director, Joe Max, and I have history. We have a relationship. We've worked on projects together, large and small, Golden Triangle specifically, and the state in general. We've worked on several statewide projects. So I've worked with Leland Speed. I've worked with former Governor Haley Barbour. I've worked with several other governors to help bring industry to the state. And my concentration and my focus with this appointment would be to focus on Octavia County more specifically, because we need North Star to be filled. It needs to be handled, and right now it's not being handled. Someone needs to put some ideas out there to help bring some industry here in Octavia County. The one thing as a state representative that I would always get approached about was, and this was by industry people, large and small. Chairman Ellis, when are we going to get some real industry here so that we can stimulate the economy? And that is the question. Octavia County does not have any real industry to boast about. We just don't have it. Now maybe it's because we don't have the Golden Triangle Airport, maybe we don't have the proper infrastructure or whatever. However, that is something that we need to focus on. We need to focus on how do you get the industry to Octavia County. That would be the response to your question.
Just a little follow-up, and this is my last one. You used to be chairman of the Ways and Means Committee, correct?
I was the ranking member of the Ways and Means Committee.
Okay.
Little distinction
in there. Do you think that experience would help in finding funding sources?
Well, to your point, Ways and Means, being the ranking member means that basically you've spent more time on that committee than any other member on that committee. And basically what you do as a member of Ways and Means, in particular the ranking member, you crunch the numbers, you determine how you get the ways in order to develop the means that you need to do in order to produce the funds that you need to produce in order to put something on the table. And I've worked with several different chairmen in that regard and several different governors, because you can't function without Ways and Means. You just can't do it. But yes, I've worked with Ways and Means. Anytime you have a project going forward, Ways and Means is the first place they're going to stop, because you're not going to just dole out an appropriation, cash out some industry and say, okay, we're going to write you a blank check. You don't do that. If you do, you're in trouble. So you have Ways and Means. Okay, you're going to do it. How are you going to do it? How are you going to generate the income that you're going to put out here to these people? How are you going to bring this back to the county? How are you going to do it? That's what Ways and Means is about.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
So one of my main concerns is that with the three entities, now we're looking at workforce. Actually, do we have the workforce here to support the industry? And that's what with my concern is that because we're all competing, that we have somebody that's truly working to put it here. Joe Mack shared that we might have 200 people would be the only amount of capacity that he could have. So if there's something that's coming in, my concern is that it does not go to West Point or that it does not go to Columbus, because Octavia County taxpayers have invested so much. I'm a little concerned that we did not know, or the statistics were not talked about a lot in advance of actually having the workforce here to support the industry. And so now that we have it built, that seems to be some of the topic of discussion now as well. We've got it, but we don't know that we have the workforce here to support it. So I'm concerned that we make sure that we have somebody on the board, that if there's an option for an industry to come in, that it actually comes to Starkville, to Octavia County, instead of one of those other locations. That's my main concern, is because I know that there's just not a lot of people to support the industry.
Mm-hmm.
So, my concern.
That's a valid concern too, Madam Supervisor. I think that it has already been illustrated by way of the Yokohama project. When we did that project, the Yokohama promised to do this. They signed an agreement to do this and to do that, and 500 jobs here and then 500 more and blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. The labor force didn't support it. You didn't have a labor force. They're having trouble getting labor now.
Right.
And so my approach to that would be, identify your labor source that you have and put it together first and foremost, and then you market that. You know, this is what we have to offer. We have a labor force ready and willing to go to work. That'll get you a lot more than it will a mega site. You know, a mega site is necessary, don't get me wrong, but you need a labor force. And to your point about competing against one another,
It is a competition.
it's a competition.
I mean, it is.
And I told my late grandfather years ago that, and pardon me for digressing, but the years ago, he died in 88, and I told him that eventually this was back in the late 70s, that we would come together as the Golden Triangle. I said, maybe not in my lifetime, but eventually we're coming together. It will be one city. And I still believe that, but we're not now. So therefore we are competing. And in that competition, we have to market ourselves. Marketing and education is the key. Marketing, education, labor force. Those are the key three factors as far as industrial development.
Thank you.
Anyone else? I'm going.
I'd like to I worked with the chairman for years, and he's did a heck of a job when he was there. I wish we could hire both of the, did we have 2 appointments for the ring?
I have one.
For now, I wish we had one.
Now we only have one. I don't know whether we're gonna have later.
I worked with this man. I can tell you he puts his heart into it, and I can tell you the other gentleman, wherever he's at, it puts his heart into anything. I think we've got quality candidates this go round. This is a no-lose situation as far as I can tell. I've worked with both of these people, and I think I needed to at least say that I've always been impressed with them, so.
Thank you for that, Mr. Chairman, if I may respond. Thank you, I appreciate those kind remarks. The thing about Octavia County, back to your point, competition-wise, first and foremost, you need to love Octavia County. You either love it or leave it. I know that sounds brash, but if you don't love Octavia County, you don't need to be out there dancing around. You know, I'm a 5th generation Octavia Countyan. I'm the great-great-grandson of a slave, and I'm still here. So apparently I love Octavia County because I could be a lot of other places. Been a lot of other places, but I chose to be here.
Well, there's 72 publicly funded arenas in the state of Mississippi, and I've been over one for 20 years. It's a competition.
I know all about yours, so let me put a point on that.
But I'm just saying it's a competition.
I know it's competition,
Right.
and I put $12 million into that project before you came on board.
Well, it's
Through
benefit.
Ways and Means.
Thank
Right.
you.
Okay.
Through Ways and Means.
Ways and Means. Again, yeah.
I do have one thing. Do you see a direction that the link needs to go specifically for Octavia County that we're not now? And I'll ask both candidates this question, but it just came to me. In other words, the ultimate goal is to fill up the industrial park, North Star Industrial Park. But do you see a piece that's missing that would make it fit?
If I understand your question correctly, Mr. Supervisor, the missing link would be the lack of the ability to foster the labor force. It gets back to what Madam Supervisor stated earlier. You need to have the labor force in place. You need to push the labor force. In other words, there needs to be a plan directed toward building the labor force. And if you show an industry, a $20 billion company, said we have the labor force to produce automobiles. To give you an example, you know why Alabama gets more automobile dealers manufactured than we do in Mississippi?
Mercedes-Benz, isn't it?
Well, not because of Mercedes-Benz. Mercedes-Benz is one of them. The reason they get more automobile manufacturers, including Mercedes-Benz, other Toyotas and Hyundais and what have you, is because of the labor force availability. And if you have a labor force, you get what you want. You write your own ticket because they'll follow you. But if you don't have a labor force, you got to sell them on the fact that we can develop a labor force. Manufacturers don't want to hear that. They want to know, do you have what I need to open my doors? When we shovel that dirt, you know, we want to know how many people we're going to be able to hire. Now, you've showed me what you can do. That's the missing link.
Not delving too deep into that, how do you highlight that? How do we bring that number out to them? How do we?
Well, of course, you educate and you market. You first have to educate. So you have to take advantage of your communiversity and all of your skill works programs, and then you have to market that. You know, I'm very high on the university's work program if it's utilized properly. It needs to be dealt with properly, and it needs to be marketed.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? Now, Representative Ellis, we're certainly glad that you have come and took an interest in being appointed to the Golden Triangle Link Board. We are thankful that you're here. Do you have any questions that you'd like to ask us then, I guess?
No. I would just, one comment, and that would be that this pen right here opens doors for you. Right?
Good look at
Rob.
that.
Good looking video.
I just want to leave you with that.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Representative Ellis.
You're very welcome.
Okay.
Keith said it.
And next, Mr. Bob Daniels.
Just me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, you.
How
are y'all doing?
Good evening.
Good. Mr. Daniels, we are certainly glad that you have come to be a part of this meeting.
Very good.
We need a person to represent us, represent our
I'm a
Kanawha
person.
County on the Golden Triangle Link, Golden Triangle Link Board.
Yes, sir.
So without saying anything else, if you would just kind of tell us a little bit about yourself or whatever you wanted to say, and
Okay.
share some of the other.
Is that the way this will go?
Board members.
I can start out a little bit, and then y'all can start in with questions, I guess.
Yeah, let's
Okay,
start
very
in.
good. My name's Robert Bob Daniels, PhD, Dr. Daniels, retired from Mississippi State University. I'm a forester by training, undergraduate training. I have a bachelor's in forest science from Penn State University. Master's degree in forest genetics from Southern Illinois University. PhD, Michigan State University. Go Spartans. But my PhD works focused in, for folks here, forestry, and they think economic development. Well, my PhD was focused in natural resource economics and policy analysis. So, and then when I went to work at Mississippi State, I used to handle what we used to call the business side of forestry. For about 20 years, I wrote a timber price report for the state, which estimated average standing prices and delivered prices for timber. Also used to write and both of these are still on the whole collection is still on the web. You can find it at Extension Forestry. But I also wrote a annual timber harvest estimate, timber harvest report we used to call it, which would put a value on all the timber harvested in Mississippi for the year. And both of these were very useful for economic development at the time. In fact, I used to interface with a lot of companies. Some of the bigger companies used to peg their contract prices on our state reports. So anyway, I was involved in that way. While I was doing that, I had a good relationship with the Department of, at that time it was called the Department of Economic and Community Development. It's now called MDA. Anyway, I worked with them a good bit when they had, at that time, there was a good bit of timber and lumber and forestry promoted in international product. We were promoting exports from Mississippi of these things. And so 4 times I went with them overseas, twice to England, once to Singapore, and once to Germany.
Anyway, so I was sort of you might say, an expert that they called on for that part of economic development and forestry in those days. I've had an interest in industry for years. I've made a lot is a sort of a misused word. I've probably toured 40, I'd say 40 manufacturing plants. Furniture, oriented strand board, sawmills, lumber, plywood, paper plants, all that sort of thing. So I have a real interest in the industry and how things get done out there, you might say. I've been involved in some unique projects. We built 2 timber bridges back in the late 90s, what we called modern timber bridges at that time. One in Tallahatchie County, one here in Starkville. In fact, it's out on the West Point Road near, what's the name of that subdivision?
Valley Hills.
Valley Hills, right, exactly. That little, it's just a short bridge, 24 feet or something, I think. But yeah, anyway, we built that for a conference that we held, a regional conference that we held here, and had supervisors and a lot of other engineers and things in here. You know, that was kind of a unique experience, I guess I'd say. So I could go on, I guess, but I've been involved in forestry, I guess you'd say, the forestry side of economic development for a lot of years. Since I've left the university, I retired there in '06. I became a real estate agent and a broker, founded my own little company, Daniels and Associates. Been working that for, well, since about '08, I guess. And as a realtor, as a broker, I remain interested in development. That's really the part of real estate that I like, is development. And I'm interested in developing this area. Golden Triangle you all know it has a lot of potential. It's already realized some of that potential, but it has more, can be done. And so I feel like I have some tools and some experience to bring to the table, I guess. I guess that's about the way I'd introduce myself to y'all.
Well, I was going to ask you, first of all, it's good to see you.
Good to see you,
His wife taught me college algebra.
Yeah, we've been around a while.
But my question was going to be the same to Representative Ellis. Specifically, what do you feel like you will bring to the table as far as with the link and bringing economic development?
Well, I mean, not being privy to what the link board necessarily does. Well, obviously, as with any other board, I guess. By the way, just came off the hospital board. I spent about close to a year and a half on the hospital board. Just came off there in the 1st of September. So I got a little bit of local board experience, but you know, I guess they want everybody who comes on that board to have some either contacts, experience, understanding of the industries in the area to bring to the table. I feel like I have a pretty wide breadth of that kind of understanding, and I'd be glad to serve. Anything specific you want to know about?
Not
you know,
just you know.
Yeah. Okay.
So I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I made the same statement before. My concern is that we now have this mega site, and
Right.
all of the locations have this mega site, and it's just come to the surface that the issue could be now that we don't have job force. Job force is here to support, but maybe a 200 person job, and so that's very concerning for me when the taxpayers have invested all of this money for this mega site. So, you know, it is a competition to get jobs here and industry here versus other things. So my concern is that we put somebody on the board that knows that Oktibbeha County is the first place it needs to come, because West Point has gotten some, and you know, Columbus has gotten some, and it's our turn to get some industry for the workforce that's here, that's left. So that's
well, and it could be drawn from further west of us and further south of us, I guess,
Right.
as part of the workforce. But that's been, I guess, a little bit of a sore spot with the link for folks around here is that, you know, where's our share in Oktibbeha County? And maybe y'all are feeling that too, I don't know. But, yeah, I would certainly go on this board and fight for Oktibbeha County, you know, and we've, as far as I know, we've followed everything that Joe Max Higgins, has asked us to do with the new industrial park and everything. But, and we've had a few misses with the other industrial parks. We've got our original industrial park that still has a gap or 3 in it, right? With Flex Steel and Gulf States leaving their buildings. So, I don't know if that's on the Link's radar or not, but it should be.
Thank you.
Now, as far as labor force, I mean, yeah, that's what we got the community university for, and we have to do all we can do. Part of it is a promotion job, I guess, is to get our young people to understand that, you know, being a master welder maybe is better than having a sociology degree. Not that we want to keep folks out of Mississippi State University, our partners, but we do need a better group of industry here, I'd say.
My question was to you, and as well as Mr. Ellis, was what is missing? In other words, in your opinion, what is missing that could fill the North Star that I guess maybe we're missing, or
well, I'm just sort of from the outside looking in. I don't know. I don't know how strong the city's resolve is to bring blue collar type jobs into this city, or into our industrial parks, for example. We seem to work hard to make a lot of recreational sites and to establish ourselves as party city next to the university, which is okay, and that does bring in dollars, but that only helps a certain slice of the community, in my opinion. Now I just heard today somebody, where was I listening to that? I can't remember now, but anyway, when you look at unemployment across the state, Oktibbeha County is in North Mississippi is a sore spot. We've got a lot of that, and so presumably industry, you know, more industry, those kind of jobs in here would be a big help for that. And I'd love to see that happen. Really, we need to be a more what do we use the word, diverse from an industrial standpoint, from an economic standpoint. City, we got plenty of restaurants and places to play, you might say, but we need some places to work. So that's just an observation I make from outside looking in. You guys know more than I do about that sort of thing. But I should mention, since Tyrone Ellis was here, I've had some experience myself working with legislatures. When I was at the university, testified twice in front of the U.S. Senate hearing, 3 times in front of the state budget and our own state legislature, and have worked around political folks, I guess, for a number of years, and know a lot of them, and be glad to do whatever of that. The cross?
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's a,
yeah, in fact,
I mean, I think that would be something to tell everybody
well,
about.
right now, we're working on, pass these around. This is the Cross of Christ for Starkville. We are, we founded a not-for-profit, nonprofit. The Cross of Christ for Starkville is a 501c3 nonprofit by the IRS, and we are raising money and looking for a location for this cross, similar to the ones, maybe you've seen, the closest one maybe is Eupora. You've seen Eupora. But there are a number of these that have sprung up around Mississippi and elsewhere, other places. So there's a committed group of Christians, I'm one, who are in the process of bringing this to fruition. Now, we've been at it about 2 years. In fact, I'd like to invite y'all Thursday night at First Baptist Church. We have our annual meeting, so 5:30 in room 114. And so far we've collected about $54,000. We intend to raise $250,000, and we haven't put on our big publicity campaign yet because we want to secure the land first. It's hard to ask somebody to, maybe it's not so hard, but for some people it's hard to say, you know, donate to our cross when we can't point to that's where it's going to be. So we've been concentrating on properties along Highway 25 South and along 82 bypass. Right now we're looking out. We've probably reviewed about 18 properties. Talked to the landowners. Seen, you know, what we could do with that. What we're looking for is a spot that is very visible, of course, and also accessible. And we haven't found that combination yet with an owner who's either willing to donate or sell it to us. So we're still working on that, but we're coming along real well with it, I think. Anyway, so look forward to that. That'll be a nice addition to our community, I think.
It will be.
Pardon?
It will be a nice.
It will,
and
and I hope you all would be in favor of it.
Absolutely, sir.
Yeah.
Representative Dennis, I'm sorry. Representative, do you have anything that you'd like to add?
I would like to say that I've worked with Bob Daniels as well over the years, and listen, you know, the two candidates you've had tonight, I think you've got first-class people all the way around.
Yeah, you got some good choice.
Bob and I have known each other for years and worked on projects together, and the same for the previous candidates. So this is a no-brainer. You got good people.
Well, yeah. Let me add a couple things too. I've worked with industrial organizations a good bit over the years. I was a member of the Mississippi Forestry Association and worked on the board of directors there. Well, for 25 years, I guess, and was very active with the Mississippi Lumber Manufacturers Association, and I was in professional association. Society of American Foresters is national, I think you should say international, professional organization, and I was served as a state chair in Mississippi for that, and went on to be elected. I was elected as a member of the National Council. Spent a 3-year term representing Mississippi, Louisiana, and Texas for that. And so I know how projects come together. I know how planning goes. I understand the players involved in a lot of this kind of thing. So anyway.
For people that don't know, will you tell them the size of forestry in Mississippi? I mean, isn't it?
Well, yeah. Yeah. What would you all say is the #1 agricultural crop in Mississippi?
Timber.
Timber? Anybody else got a guess? A lot of folks say cotton first, you know. But actually, #1 agricultural crop. Poultry. That's right. It's chickens. Poultry and eggs. That's right. And then in the last 20 years or so, it's been forestry, timber next, and then cotton usually. If you put all the row crops together, you know, cotton, soybeans, corn, all that, they come up to a higher number than forestry. But we used to do it that way. And the pinnacle of timber's values were, I'd say, the late 90s and early 2000s. Particularly since 2007 housing crunch, you know, it really hasn't completely. The standing prices haven't come up like they were before. But it's still a economic crop for us, and growing trees is a good option. About 19 million acres out of I think it's 34 million acres in Mississippi. About 19 million acres is forest land. And it's been, over the years, it's been growing because we used to have a lot more farms than we have now. A lot of the farms are being inherited, and the kids aren't going to come back and run the cows and, till the land like mom and dad did. So they plant it in trees, or they let it grow up in trees. And so, anyway, I could give you a lot on that, but I won't. Yeah. Anyway.
Well, we'll certainly enjoy having you, Mr. Daniels. And I think you did a real good job of telling us some of your background and the interview that you have gone through. So thank you for coming, and thank you for sharing an interest.
I'd like to have a chance to represent Octavia County. Okay, very good. Anything else?
Very much.
Thank
Good to
you.
see
Do
you.
you have any questions that you'd like to ask us? Anything you'd like to ask
Well, let me just tell you on this card. I thought that was my number in there, but it's not. Excuse me. Anyway.
But you can scan that and donate.
Yeah, it is my number. The first number, 418-4496. That's right. That's my number. Well, what are you all looking for in somebody? Are you looking for somebody to go in there and fight for Oktibbeha County? Is that something? What needs to be done?
That's what I look for.
Yeah. Well, I think so. But the vice chair of this board is Jerry Toney from right here, right? We got somebody in the top of the leadership.
Fight.
Okay. No. To the extent we fight in these sort of things, I'd be glad. Okay. Anything else? No. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you. I think we need to acknowledge both presentations.
So moved.
A motion by Supervisor Howard, second by Supervisor Montgomery, that we acknowledge both presentations coming from Mr. Bob Daniels and Mr. Tyrone Ellis. Any questions? All in favor? Motion carries 5-0. Moving forward, we'll deal with that at the end of the board meeting, and might need an executive session to maybe hash things out. But moving forward, Mr. Patrick Warner, Volunteer Fire Department.
How's everybody doing this evening?
Doing well.
Patrick Warner, Fire Coordinator. I got 4 items for this tonight. One of the first items I'd like to try to discuss or get done is District 5 has some culverts in front of their station that has been getting stopped up. I have been requested by District 5 to have them replaced with some bigger culverts.
Which fire station is that? Which one? That's the one on
Out
Alcott?
on Alcott, yes, sir.
Okay.
And I have video of the water coming down the hill, and it's pretty
Okay.
bad. It's coming in the station.
We'll take a look at it.
Okay.
And I'm glad that we have our road manager in today, so both of us we'll take a look at it.
All right, the second item is the sale of 2 pumper trucks and 1 pickup truck. The 2 pumper trucks are old. I believe y'all know they've been sitting out there for 10 years in the grass. They're just no good. They need to be sold and get out. They're junk.
A motion that we allow our fire coordinator to sell those people.
Second.
Motion by Supervisor Howard, second by Supervisor Montgomery, that we allow the sale of the 2 pumper trucks. Any questions? All in favor? Motion carries 5-0.
And the third is another truck. We were given this truck from Upora. We have had it several years. It came from the forestry department. It's a lease truck. We will never own this truck. So as long as we have it, we just have to maintain it and stuff like that. We are no longer using it. No other department is, I've offered this to another department. Right now it's at Maven. No other department wants it. We would like to give it back to Upora because every year they come and check it and audit it, and we have to maintain it. And since we're not using it and it's sitting outside just getting weathered, we want to return it to Upora and give it back to them. And I need to see if we can get that done.
Motion by Supervisor Miller, second by Supervisor Montgomery, that we return the truck. Any questions? All in favor? Motion carries 5-0. And you return that back to Upora, I believe.
To Upora, and do you happen to have a VIN number or anything like that that I can identify it on my?
I do, I have the title and VIN.
Okay.
I can shoot that to you, not
Shoot it to
with
me,
me right
that's
now.
cool.
I'll
Shoot
give
it to me and I'll plug it in.
I'll get it. The fourth is a personnel issue, and I would like to request go into executive session. A personnel issue, and I would like to request going into executive session, please.
Okay. Could we do it now or will we do it later?
Let's just do it now and get down the, let's go.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Supervisor Montgomery, second by Supervisor Howard, that we go into executive session. Any questions? All in favor? Motion.
I think
What
they
kind
were
of tractor?
Massey Ferguson.
Okay.
And Trax Plus bid at the same tractors, and they were $20 higher. So we'll stick with the co-op. And the co-op on the pull behind bush hogs. What's that? What's his name? Waters trucks for the small trucks, small dump trucks.
Nobody bid on those, would they? Nobody can get them.
And then
Did they guarantee a date on those?
They didn't, and that
That's
might
the
be a
problem.
problem.
That's why I noticed, nobody bid on that. Nobody guaranteed a date on those short
That's
dump
right.
trucks.
That's right. Or the other dump trucks either.
Yeah.
Well, what about the graders there? Do we have a date on those?
3 days.
You talking on delivery?
3 days? On the, all right, the motor grader,
We say within 10 days, but we have those in stock.
The only thing on there that didn't have a guaranteed date was the little dump trucks. The way I was reading it, like didn't have a date.
see, I see that right there, the dates.
And what about the tandem trucks? Did
I
they
think
have
more
a-
than one voted on, I mean,
They did.
but I didn't read that far. I just noticed on the little trucks there wasn't any options on that.
Right.
All of your recommendations are the dark green, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, making sure.
Dark green.
No?
Yeah.
Yes. No,
Yes.
there's a dark green, yeah.
We'll make sure
What about the,
Yeah.
what about the motor grader? Is that light green or dark green?
That's gonna be
Tracks plus on the
well,
graders.
That's right, on the graders.
And on the
green, dark green, dark green, dark green, dark
excavators.
green, dark green, and this one didn't have anybody.
Yeah, the
Okay,
excavator.
making sure.
Tracks plus on them. He said co-op on the tractors, co-op on the bush hogs, waters on the dump trucks.
Delivery date is,
Excavators, take a beating out in the field.
yeah, and
Man, those things, if they're good, there's some men out there. They'll walk up to a tree and won't even count it. They just knock it down and keep on. Can we
Right.
trust that Trans Plus is gonna do the job? I've seen how Cat does it.
yeah, well, when you look at the horsepower and the weight of the machines, the horsepower exceeds what we have now, and so does the weight of the machines. And so you look at it closely, it's probably a little
Trans
better.
Plus does.
Yes,
Trans Plus, the weight exceeds what we already have.
that's right. And the horsepower as well.
Probably go to YouTube and search.
So we are going with the green recommendation.
That's right. And if we did that, that would eliminate a lot, because of the delivery dates, that would eliminate a lot of service. I mean, because we're spending a lot of money on service right now. I think we have probably 27,000 in service right now, and it's getting bigger. So we could go on, and if this were to come to fruition and we got all of this, then that would eliminate a lot of the service.
We could almost go ahead and do it, but not do the trucks, just simply because we don't know a date on those anyway. But go ahead and the ones that we know that we got a delivery date on, if you look on the things, we could go ahead and approve those.
Right, and if we took that and we sold some of the items that we have, it would put us right on budget.
Okay.
So Thompson, is the dozer.
That's right, Thompson is the
Recommend
dozer.
Thompson for the dozer.
Mhm. Because, we're not having any trouble with the dozer right now, and so we can wait that time. We can wait the 210 days. And just keep it in the shop if we have to.
Yeah, there is a difference between the CAT and the Trax Plus, in terms of prices. But of course, we want the cheapest, but we also want the best.
That's right, and I believe, I've had a couple of complaints regarding the graders, but these weren't taken to, Trax Plus. And so they're coming out, they weren't taken to Trax Plus. So Trax Plus is coming out tomorrow and, check the graders out. They said there's nothing wrong with the graders, it's just some adjustments that need to be made. The graders are heavy and strong, and, they said the problem with, fuel, the size of the fuel tanks, can be eliminated, mitigated to some degree by running it in a certain gear at a certain speed. And with, and I just really can't bring myself to recommend anything because of the price difference. And I feel that I feel that the equipment is gonna be okay. I'm talking about a considerable savings of money.
So we are getting what is the cheapest, and what you think is the
That's right, I think it's the best.
equally as good anyway.
That's right.
Okay. We have a motion on the
Well, I'll make a
recommendation.
motion that do you wanna go ahead and do the dump trucks, or you wanna wait since we don't know when they're gonna come?
Oh, we can wait on the dump trucks.
Just, do you wanna go ahead and do the graders and the excavator and the, two things from the co-op?
Yes.
All right.
Everything in green now.
So, Trax Plus on the graders, on the excavators, the co-op on the tractors and the bush hogs.
Front end loaders, from Trax Plus.
Yeah,
This will
front-
come from our bond money, correct?
Yeah.
The front end loaders and the dozer
Front end
from,
load.
Thompson,
Okay.
because they were low on the dozers, on the dozer.
Made the motion?
Yeah.
I'll
Okay,
second
motion
that.
by-
Tandem trucks too, from
motion
Burr.
by-
We're gonna wait on the trucks, cause there's no date on those. We need to follow up and see if we can even get them.
Okay.
But
No, the tandem, I see it said 120.
Well, so we got time, I mean, but we need to follow up on that. I'm just reading, I read the pack and it didn't sound like that, I don't even know. Do you want to do all this, or you want to, and wait on the trucks till next meeting to make sure we can get them?
I'd like to wait on the trucks.
Wait on the
Okay.
truck. Okay. We got a motion that we accept Mr. Baggett's recommendation. Motion by Supervisor Miller, second by Supervisor Montgomery, that we accept the recommendation. Any question? All in favor? Motion carries 5-0.
While he's in here, can we go ahead and approve this culvert request on 2595 Big Creek Road?
So,
That's somebody that's, they originally thought they were gonna build a house, now they think they're just, need access to their property.
Before you leave, one quick thing, she just did that, I'm gonna bring it up about Self Creek Road.
Wait a minute, somebody do a motion on that?
I did, 2595 Big Creek Road, they need a
Second,
culvert.
second.
Motion for comment on,
Yes, sir.
Big Creek. All in favor?
Bye.
Motion carries 5-0. Motion for comment on Big Creek.
All right.
Don't forget about my pothole on 25.
So,
Motion by Supervisor Miller, second by Supervisor Montgomery. 5-0 vote.
The sewage lagoon, don't we normally clip that anyway at Sturgis? She's called like a couple of times, and I did put a request for that. Will you put that on your notes to follow up?
Okay,
Bush hog the sewage lagoon.
okay.
Moving along.
all right, I've got one culvert for, and it's pertaining to Mr. Baggett at 7100 Self Creek Road. We've got a right of entry agreement. It's literally, it's some new ditching has been done. It's putting more water on him. When that water comes down the hill, it goes off the road, but it, you know what I mean, goes beside his driveway. I mean, we're probably 10 feet off of our right-of-way, 42 feet off of the road, you know what I mean? I just need a little ditch work done right there at 7100 Self Creek Road and replace a 15-inch culvert with a 24-inch culvert. That's my motion.
15 to 24,
Second.
motion by Supervisor Montgomery, second by Supervisor Trainer. Any questions? That's 7100 Self Creek Road.
Yes, sir.
In question, all in favor? Motion carries 5-0.
Mark will have it.
With that in mind, will you please make a notation that we are requesting the clean out at the fire station on our top road that the fire coordinator requested earlier today. That's on our top road. Okay? So, I motion that we have that done for both of those, clean out.
Second. I'll second that.
Motion by Supervisor Williams, second by Supervisor Montgomery, that we adhere to, fire coordinator's request. All in favor? Motion carries 5-0.
All right. Thanks, sir. 540, Chancery Clerk.
Did we get our personnel issue dealt with?
We did.
Okay. I don't care. As long as you have it.
We got it.
Oh, can I do one thing since Mr. Baggett is here? I put on the table for you the schedule.
Yeah.
The road department has a schedule that's not consistent with 8 to 5 that's in the handbook. That being said, it's kind of been a conflict when it comes to payroll and individuals taking off. So on that schedule, let's say Monday through Wednesday, they work 8 hours a day. If they take vacation, they have been only taking 8 hours a day. And that was.
No, you said 8 and 8, but you meant 9, yeah.
I apologize.
Yeah.
On this schedule, they work 9 hours a day. But if they take a day of vacation, they've only been taking 8 hours. So we need to adopt that schedule so that if they take off those 9 hours, then 9 hours is what would be taken from their vacation.
Yes, that's right.
Because that's not how it's been done in the past. Leslie called me today and she asked the question, and I just automatically told her 9 because that's just what made sense to me. And she said, well, we've always been told to refer back to the handbook. So I talked to Rob about it. It was never, and Mr. Baggett, there was never a board order to adopt this schedule. That being said, once we adopt it, then if they take off whatever hours are reflected they should work, those are the hours that should be taken from them if they take vacation.
And I visited with Dolores and gave her a leave form,
Yeah.
which would actually eliminate that problem. I see what you're saying, and we do need to take, but that leave form says, I want to take leave from 7 a.m. and then it would say until 4:30 a.m. 4:30 p.m. Then that would automatically show that they've taken 9 hours worth of leave. That leave form will actually eliminate a lot of your headaches.
It will.
But if you think we need, I mean, we can do it, but that leave form.
We do need to, and another thing is, I was informed that the entire road department does not work under this schedule. That causes a problem for Michelle. And I think workers can go to another shop and work, so when that happens, it's a problem with Michelle keeping up with the time.
Do they not punch a clock, or they just
Yeah,
feel like?
They punch a clock.
Well, then is it not all computer coordinated?
Not
No.
the time sheets that's turned into us. It's
No,
not
it's not.
something that comes from that. No. Nope.
The brick that they put, and it's so antiquated.
One girl showed up that morning.
A vacation, and it's a mess. I mean, it's old, outdated, the way they do it, and that leave form would eliminate all of those.
So what do we need to do as a board?
So Supervisor Howard has been working with me. We've been talking for weeks about this. The first thing we need to do, I think, in speaking with Michelle, the road department needs to be on everyone needs to be on the same schedule.
I agree.
Not a certain shop doing this and somebody else doing that. If this is the schedule the supervisors are gonna adopt, then that's the schedule for the road department. And it say it on that, but that's not what's been happening.
Right.
So-
And, the reason that happened, it was just an attempt to boost morale, because I have to be there on Friday anyway. I mean, all day. And so either me or Leslie or someone in the office. So it was for the men. And if it's discontinued, I don't know what it's gonna do for the guys that work the 8, for 5 days. But for the rest of the road department, it's just gonna have a negative effect on morale. I'm not trying to make anyone's job any more difficult, but that's the reality of it.
And a shop is the shop that doesn't work this schedule. And I will speak up for Mark. Mark is of the belief that getting off at 12 on a Friday, he's of the belief that by the time the crew gets in, get set up and get to the job site and ready to work,
You ain't getting nothing.
it's time to break back down and come back in. And so you hadn't you hadn't gotten anything done. That's why Mark says I would rather just stick to my.
And if
you
somebody
know,
calls at 1 p.m. on Friday,
right,
we ain't got nobody.
Right. So I just wanted to make sure that the board understood the reasoning why Mark is not wanting to work this schedule. He just, Mark is a guy, he like to get work. He like to get work done, and he just don't think that would be fair to the taxpayers.
That's all he thinks about.
That's it.
Seriously.
That's it.
So we need to decide.
Well, what needs to happen to make Michelle's job easy?
Either a board order accepting this, because what's happening now, we have someone that, Leslie called, taken off, and she's writing it up for 8 hours of vacation. However, if they work, they get paid for 9 hours, so it should be 9 hours. So I talked to Michelle about it, and she said she was always told, we gotta stick to what's in the handbook. Well, the fact that we altered their schedule, take the handbook out of the conversation, because we don't work those hours, we work 8 to 5. So we are putting them in the 8 to 5 category when they take off, but that's not.
But
So
I
that's
guess,
an hour that's lost.
Ms. Administrator,
Yeah.
let me ask you this.
Yeah.
She's gonna have to, and I've always said this, regardless, you've gotta keep up with the amount of time that you take off. So with that leave form that says, I wanna take off on this date from 7 a.m. until 4:30 p.m., that, out beside that, that's 9 hours. So regardless to what schedule they're working, that would keep up. But I see what
But
you're
that's
saying,
not
they
how they're
just sort of
writing it
been
up. 'Cause
saying,
yeah.
well, we work an 8-hour day, so even though we've gone to this schedule,
That's it.
we're gonna be off 9 hours, but we're only gonna use 8 hours worth of leave.
Exactly. So if they write it up, they'll still tell Leslie, I'm gonna be off Monday, and she knows it's till 4:30, but she's gonna say 8 hours of vacation.
But that shouldn't be, because you
I agree.
know that that's 9 hours.
So let me back up. So they're punching a time card, and then that time card goes where? To a payroll form?
No, yeah, they punch the machine and it's a form in there. And we take that's only for monitoring and checking their daily sheets that they fill out.
Okay, so then they fill out a daily sheet.
Right.
And that supervisor signs off that they've done that.
Oh,
That foreman.
the foreman and myself.
Okay, so the foreman signs off first, because you don't know if
That's
at
right.
a shop if they showed up or not. I mean, other than if you go back and look at them things. So they're filling out. So if they're filling out that form, do they not put, like on our form, like we have a time card, and then I have a form that I fill out. At Mississippi State, we have leave that's on the computer, but still on that form, you still have to write on that form for audit that they took leave that day on that form, and then that goes to payroll. That's what gets processed. So I have two pieces of documentation. So what does your office get?
They'll just say off on the 15th. That's it.
We
So
should
we
have-
know they just don't work on the 15th. If they work, they'll get paid for 9 days, but when the road department write it up and send it to us, they say 8.
But do they have 8 the day before and 8 the next day, or do they
Yes,
just put the hours?
They'll count, no, they do, if they work, it's 9, 9, 8, 5. Is that correct?
That's correct.
But if they take off, they say 8 vacation.
And what they're doing, they're going by the day
Yes.
instead of the number of hours
Hours,
that they're
exactly.
taking off.
Exactly.
Well, that's just something that payroll should be fixing. I mean,
Well-
if my guy comes in and says, well, I'm supposed to get
But
40
that's
hours
the
this week.
problem. When Michelle tried to fix it, they called the supervisors called me, and now we gotta figure out who was
They
wrong.
don't wanna take their time.
So
And-
we gotta
right.
adopt this so Mr. Baggett can hear it and say, if you take off, you're gonna be charged 9 hours.
Well,
And
I think, again, I think if you go
I
back to
understand
that
that,
leave
but
form
on
that
this day, it's only
says,
gonna be 5 hours.
I'm taking off Monday, and if I work on Mondays from 7 a.m. until 4:30 p.m., I fill out that leave form that says,
9 hours leave.
you get except from, well, it's actually
9
got,
hours pay.
it's got the time where I put 7, I wanna be off the 15th.
This new form
That's-
will say that, because you
Yeah.
have to specify time, but what we are dealing with now does not. You just said however many hours. And
Well,
will write
they
it
were
on
just
the
going
8th.
by, they were going by an 8-hour day.
That's it.
And they were just putting 8 hours, although that day was now 9 hours. They were only being charged for 8 hours worth of leave.
However, if they
I
took a
understand,
Friday,
but
they
your
won't be charged for
manager,
Friday.
your foreman's supposed to be able to count to
Yeah.
40. Yeah, I'm just
If they
saying.
did Thursday, they said 8. If they did Friday, they said 5.
You know, if mine write it down wrong, I go back and say, you know, this is,
We double check it.
well, then where's the problem?
8 hours.
And that's why I've been working with Dolores and Miss D on this leave form. I mean, there's been some confusion about when you take off for sick leave. You know, the first day is automatically personal leave. Well, they would put a V, and then there was really no way to sort of indicate that first. So I said, it's the leave form PLSI, personal leave sick. That first day now gives you 8 hours worth of personal, but it's indicated that this is the first day for sick leave. So you don't get that confusion. You don't go back and just see a V later and forget, well, was it sick or was it just vacation or was
That part of it is fine. We can work that out. The discrepancy is 9 and 8 hours of vacation.
I think if we approve this, then summer we're gonna be changing it again, because summer y'all start earlier. I mean,
If we do, we just gotta do
It'll
another
still
board
be-
order.
it'll
so
still
we
be
will
9
know.
hours.
And we've got to change the handbook at some point too.
Yeah.
because it's
But-
completely behind.
Yeah.
so, but here's, I don't know. I'm just saying if whoever's doing payroll should be able to count to 40, and that should start with the foreman, and then the manager, and then whoever comes in.
Supervisor Miller, the thing is, Mr. Baggett and them are signing this document and sending it to Michelle. She calls them and questions it all the time.
But,
It go through 2 people before it come to her.
she does question it, but it's corrected on the payroll sheets. But she does question it now. And she says, I'm confused.
The
But-
problem we got, y'all, is that if the handbook says X, and it says 8 hours,
Right.
if it says that, then we are breaking our own policy, is the issue. And I don't care
Right.
how we do it, I really don't. I just want the handbook to reflect what we're actually doing.
Exactly. That's
Sure,
it.
probably. That's right.
For his department, because for
Right.
mine, it is 8
Well,
But there's
Can we tackle this another night, I mean, it's 8:30 and we
I
talking
mean,
about it.
Well, and not just that, what does 911 do?
It's really.
What does the sheriff's department do? We're all like Tippahawk County employees.
No, they're different because they're on a 24-hour
Yeah.
shift. They wrote, they are.
Eight.
But it doesn't say that in handbook.
Yeah, but we know that. They're first responders. They are totally out of it.
Okay.
I do
Send
suggest-
us the leave form, let us look at it. Send us a payroll form, I wanna see what that looks like, Mr. Gray.
So we need to, I make a
So what
motion,
are we
we
gonna do about
adopt
this?
this work schedule for the road department.
If we adopt that, it's gonna be
That's
favorable
gonna
or
mess up,
unfavorable for men.
that's gonna mess
Oh,
up your shop if we adopt this.
The one shop is gonna be messed up, and now,
You don't have to.
Do it in workers
You have to
one?
go along.
oh yeah, the workers wanna get off at 12 on Friday. Oh, yeah.
Now look, if y'all decide that
It's-
shop stay
it's-
how it is, just leave
Well,
the shop as it is. That's
Here's the
what
thing
y'all
is there
want.
needs to be, kinda like I said, if we were gonna do this, we were talking about different work week, especially on a Friday, somebody needs to be kinda held on call per se, till say 3:30 or 4 o'clock or whatever on Friday. That way somebody runs a deer over or whatever, we have somebody that can go out.
Yeah.
It'll
And
be
that's,
fun.
the guys are,
If we're open to that,
right, the guys are not hard to get out after.
and they are
lunch on
good about
Friday.
that.
They are. And then someone is in the road department's office, in Central Shop's office, until 3:30.
So would you rather have everybody like this, or you wanna do it like we're doing now with everybody except A shop? Either way, that'd be my motion. So if you wanna keep it like it is and just do everybody except A shop?
That's what I
Keep
asked
everybody
him.
happy. Whatever,
asked
if
him.
it can be done, if it's possible. I just wanna keep everyone happy.
But as of right now, we don't have any indication that we have authorized this. I think
This
that's-
at all, not.
No, there's no indication. I mean, I just called
Yeah.
and said this is what I'd like to do and went from
And
there.
start doing it.
So,
I do think though that all employees need to know that this is the adopted policy of the county.
Mhm.
Therefore, I guess what I'm saying is, if it comes to the point to where they might wanna say, if the foreman don't want them to, but they want to, this is the official adopted policy. And I don't know how you, Rob, what would you do in that case?
Here's the thing, here, afraid once we get into this bifurcated world, you're gonna have half your people in one shop wanna do it one way, half your people in another shop wanna do it another way, and you're gonna have, I hate to say this, but it almost needs to be a standard, whatever standard y'all want to do, I don't care, but it needs to be a standard across the board, because I'm afraid it's gonna be a mess.
Yeah, because what's gonna happen is, if, it's changed and you determine, okay, well, it would not have changed had it not been for this one barn, then that's gonna create a schism amongst the guys, you know, and so I'm trying to avoid
It's gonna be a
that.
schism no matter what.
Do we have to do it this
Whatever your
week?
ski is.
keep it like
No,
that.
we don't have to do it this week. We just keep letting them take 8 hours vacation when it's a 9-hour workday.
8
That's
hours
how it's been
vacation.
done.
Wait a minute, 8 hours vacation, 9 hours.
Work day. They supposed to work 9 hours, but they take off and they only charge 8 hours.
Yeah, but that's, the
And
manager's
it's
catching
about
that.
9 hours.
Didn't you say you were catching that
Yeah, we
leave with the
catching that.
state?
Everyone gets 40 hours every week. If you take off on Monday, you still get 40 hours.
You're getting 9 hours, you're taking 9 hours of leave.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah, no one ever said, we never sent anything in that had 39
No, you
hours.
still get 40 hours, but it's what's being charged towards your vacation time.
Oh, we don't pay people unless they work.
No,
And-
what I'm saying is if I take off Monday, are you gonna write 8 hours or 9 hours?
If you take off Monday, I'm gonna write 9 hours.
That's not what Leslie doing. That's not what she told me
Well,
today.
when I check it, if they took off Monday, they get 9 hours of vacation.
If that's what.
Because
That's what we're doing already, then
otherwise
why
we'd be
not
giving
do
them
it?
an hour.
Exactly, and I checked with
Yeah,
Michelle.
we're eating an hour is what that amounts to,
So-
that's what.
And we're not
I called
doing that.
Rob.
Okay.
As soon as I found out, I called
We're not
Rob.
doing that. We're not giving them an hour.
As long as we're not
Okay.
eating an hour, I'm good with it.
Because
just
I
don't want us to
checked-
be in a situation where
Leslie sends, I check the payroll. I check the payroll. As I
Okay.
sign it and I check it.
Well, I'll call Leslie in the
I
morning,
just
let her
don't
know
want there
what
to be
you
an
told me.
audit issue later, that's.
I think the sooner you adopt this new leave form, the better off you're gonna
I
be.
know.
I really think that's gonna
It's up
solve
to
your
the board,
problem.
though. I'm
It
just presenting it to you. It's up to you to
Yeah.
make the decision.
Okay, now, it looks like
Yeah,
we
it's
need
up
to
to the board.
formally adopt,
I do make
it seems like we need to formally adopt this schedule.
We just
haven't
decided we weren't
already.
going to. Didn't we?
No, well, we haven't adopted, we're working on the schedule that we hadn't formally adopted. Am I right?
That's my understanding.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah,
no
and it
board
wasn't,
order.
I called the supervisors and asked them if I could do that during the summer. It wasn't brought
I
to the board.
remember this conversation, I just don't remember us ever, if this
No.
could be on me.
No,
So
if we
before I
didn't-
say this, it
didn't
could
come
be
to the
that
board.
I never did an order to do it, but I remember us having this conversation.
That's not a board
Yeah,
order.
we had
Well, it's not a board
conversation,
No, we talked about it.
So we need to vote on it.
All right.
And that's
What we gonna
consistently
do?
across the board.
It's time to get on.
Supervisor Howard, could you work that out with A-Shop?
Been here 5 hours.
With that schedule?
Well, to be honest with you, I've never been a fan of this type of schedule. I've always, and I've said from the beginning, I've always liked those 8-hour days, because to me, that Friday just is a wasted, to me, is a wasted day. So my vote's gonna be no to adopting this. That's just me.
That's his.
But if we,
And I've said that from day
We don't
one
need
when
to
this
adopt it, if that's what
come
it
up.
is. Yeah.
But that's the schedule they're working now then, so
Yeah,
they
that's
just
what
keep
we-
working it without a
that's what
board
we-
order?
But majority rules, I
the
mean. but
majority
I'm
of
just-
rules, I mean, he voted
I
no,
don't
but we
understand.
still.
If
we
they're
still working
taking
on it.
leave correctly, if they're taking leave correctly, they're taking, because he changes this every summer anyway. Why do we need to adopt this?
Because that's not what's been happening. 8 hours is being sent up to the office.
So you get some days that they only got 39 hours. I mean, that's technically what you're saying. And I'm
No,
sure.
that's not what she's saying.
Yeah, she's saying that when you send in the leave, you're only asking them for 8 hours leave instead of 9 on those days.
No.
And they're catching it. That's what the whole thing's about, is they're catching it when they get there, because the employee on the day when he takes off Monday, he's not taking 9 hours. That's what this is about. So if this stopped and they weren't catching it in the county administrator's office, then that's where the problem comes in.
Leslie, it seems like Leslie is sending up to the administrator's office a vacation date. And according to the handbook, a vacation date is 8 hours. They're not actually taking from 7 a.m. until 4, which is 9 hours, and that's what should be on the leave form. We're off
Okay.
9 hours that's being sent.
Okay, so she's saying a day, but they actually getting charged for 9 hours. She might say a day.
Oh,
I'm telling you.
But now
No,
Michelle
I check
Michelle
it.
is only taking 8 hours worth of their leave
Okay, now
time.
that might be true.
Because the documents.
That might be
being
true,
sent
what
up
you're
has
saying.
8
Okay.
That's exactly what's going on. There's only been 8 hours being taken from their leave time. So
Oh,
we're
okay.
losing an hour. The county is losing that hour.
Okay.
And I don't
That's
care how
right.
we fix it, it's so
That's
long as
right.
it's fixed.
Yeah, and that
But
happened
it's
when it,
coming from your department as 9 hours.
that's right.
Okay.
We send 9 hours up there. Now, she might say on that form a day. She might say one day. And you might look at the handbook and it says 1 day is 8 hours. But now if they take 9 hours of vacation time, that's what I'm taking out, because I'm not gonna give them an hour.
Yeah, depending on what day it is. If it's a Monday, it's 9 hours.
That's right.
Friday,
It's
Friday,
5.
it's 5 hours. So they should know whether it's Monday, Tuesday,
Right.
Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
And I did this as an appeasement to the men, and it helps a little bit in the summertime, so it's not, I mean, I hate to go tell them that we're gonna stop it, but other than that, it's fine with me. What the board wants
I
to
think
do.
as long as we're keeping leave correctly, and that's what they're saying we're not. Because on the Monday, when it is supposed to be 9 hours, when she sends 1 day, Michelle's keying 8 instead of 9. It needs to be documented on there 9.
It is.
Okay. Then we don't need to change it.
It's documented now. And I'll double check that, but I check them. I go through every one of them
You want an order stating that like that?
personally.
So moved.
Motion by Supervisor Trainer that I believe you formally adopt this
I
schedule.
don't think we need it.
Adopt this schedule. On the minutes, we get it on the minutes that we adopt this schedule.
For every shop except A-Shop.
No.
Oh,
You can't do that.
No, can't do that.
Isn't it weird the-
We need to get
the
A
thing
shop
you wanna
involved
try to
in the
do is
same
so hard to
thing.
get
It's gonna be a problem if you don't, cause the other shops gonna start complaining about this and that, and A shop gets special.
Ain't nobody
treatment.
complaining this.
What they gonna say, A shop gets special?
Can't we
Ain't nobody
get all the
complaining.
documentation and have a full understanding and vote on it next meeting?
Yeah,
Can't we
won't
get all the
take it.
documentation? I'm just asking you this. And have it sent to us and look at what the true issue is, and if there is a true issue, and vote on it next time.
Right.
Okay, you'll die for a lack of seconds, so
Table that.
I don't know what we need a motion to table.
Come on, let's get some easy ones out.
Motion by Supervisor Miller to table the schedule until the next meeting.
Fair enough.
Motion by Supervisor Miller, second by Supervisor Howard. All in favor?
Here,
Motion carries 5-0. Let's move forward.
Let's do it.
County Business Administration, I believe.
Chancellor.
Oh, Chancellor, I'm
What
sorry,
you got,
Chancellor.
I
Sharon?
have two quick things. One is to acknowledge of the proof of publication for the public hearing for the portion of the Chapelville Road abandonment.
So moved.
Motion by Supervisor
Second.
Montgomery, second by Supervisor Trainer. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Second thing I have is to acknowledge a publication of the refunding bonds.
So moved.
Motion by Supervisor Montgomery, second by Supervisor Trainer. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
And the last thing I have, it's not, I don't have any business, but I would like to bring to the board's attention that myself and Monica's family wrote letters on her behalf, because it's been her 5-year mark to be presented into the Unity Park. She was accepted, so they will honor her on Martin Luther King Day in the Unity Park.
Good.
Well deserved.
And I'll let everybody know what time.
Good lady.
Good.
And
When you
that's
met
all
her,
I
you
have.
knew
Good
it.
recommendation.
You know it? When you met her, you knew it.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, you have any
That's it. That's all I
County
got.
Business Administration?
You have payroll changes for approval?
So moved. Second.
Montgomery, motion by Montgomery, second by Supervisor Trainer. All in favor?
Yeah.
Motion carries 5-0.
The Green Home Solution invoice for 420, that's for the air quality.
So moved.
Motion by Supervisor Miller, second by Supervisor Trainer. All in favor?
Right here.
Motion carries 5-0.
The invoice from Scott T-M-A-I, that's
Tenant.
for, tenant, that's for the appraisal on the new building. That was in your
Yeah,
packet.
that was in the packet. Motion by Supervisor Howard, second by Supervisor Miller.
Fine.
All in favor? 5-0.
The Sheriff's Department, the investigation got a contract for Cannon Solution, that's in your packet.
Motion by Supervisor Miller, second by Supervisor Montgomery. All in favor?
A conference which is gonna be in Flowood.
So moved.
Motion by Supervisor Trainer. Oh.
That-
Motion by
yeah,
Supervisor
that's-
Montgomery, second by Supervisor Trainer. All in favor?
Aye.
Montgomery and Trainer.
We need to amend the holiday schedule for calendar for 2021, that was in your packet.
So moved.
Sound good.
Second.
Motion by Supervisor Howard, second by Supervisor Montgomery. All in favor? Motion carries.
All right, just a couple of reminders. I talked to Wes, we should be receiving the 2 of the supervisor's vehicles by mid-December. You all need to decide who's gonna get the first 2.
Oh, we had
David-
decided.
I don't
Orlando
think
and-
so. I
Oh.
had a conversation with a supervisor you all need to talk about.
Okay.
I
thought we-
David
My front
Oswald
right
came
tire
to
is
my
about to
office
go.
and visited. He would like to be reappointed to the landfill board. Also, John Outlaw wants to be reappointed to the East October Highway Farm District. That's all I have.
Motion that we
Let's get a
reappoint.
motion on John Outlaw.
John Outlaw to the wastewater district.
Wait a minute.
Motion to reappoint John Outlaw to the East Octavia Wastewater District Board.
And Oswald
Who
too.
made the motion?
It was two.
John Outlaw.
I made the
John
motion, John
Outlaw.
Outlaw. This is wastewater
let's
board. The
carry
other one
it.
was for
Yeah,
the,
one.
different board. I think it was two different.
But-
Okay, this
might as well
motion
appoint
is
one
for
here.
reappointment of John Outlaw to the East Octavia Wastewater.
Orlando
Motion by
make one.
Supervisor
I second
Trainer,
it.
second by Supervisor Montgomery. All in favor? Motion carries 5-0.
And David Oswald.
Make the motion to reappoint.
Hey, David Oswald, reappoint.
Okay.
That's the East Octavia.
No, he's to the
landfill.
landfill, Golden Triangle
Landfill,
landfill.
okay.
yeah.
Second.
Golden Triangle Landfill, motion by Supervisor Miller, second by Supervisor Howard. All in favor? 5-0.
That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. The county business supervisor, we continue on with that then. We'll come back with Golden Triangle Link, cause we might have to go into executive session.
No, we don't. No, we don't. We're,
I motion that we appoint Tyrone Ellis.
Okay, motion by Supervisor Trainer that we appoint Tyrone Ellis, second by Supervisor Howard. Are there questions? Well, he certainly is a good appointee. We can't beat him. He know where the money at and he know how to go get it. He been getting it for 30-something, almost 40 years.
I mean, that was my reasoning. He's been in the sausage making factory and he know how that sausage is
40
made.
years.
So
You can't beat
that
him.
was my reason.
can't beat him, and then he has a genuine concern. for
I think they
occupied
both did
camping.
that.
Yeah, but he got a proven track record. He got money for your horse car too.
I think both of them would've been good, but Tyrone just had a little bit more.
All right, any questions? Any questions? All in favor? Motion carries, 3,
Two.
4,
I vote nay. I'm sorry.
nay. Motion
Nay.
carries
3-2.
3-2. 3-2.
He can throw stuff at me.
Okay, let's
Now-
move forward. Move on there. We got Tyrone Ellis on the board.
Hey, he did say a good thing. He said, "You see this seal?"
When you've been chairman of the Ways and Means,
Mine was, I'll do
might
mine.
know
Joe
what
Max won't be able to.
Okay, let me get,
Joe Max, he'll
appearance
know
to
who he's
the
talking to, what they think.
MDEQ
He wouldn't. That's why I
office
asked my husband.
for outstanding matters related to the dam. That's on the 19th,
I'm going
November
to that.
19th.
Okay,
Do we need to
Who's
do an
gonna
amended?
attend that?
Huh? I'm going.
okay. We need to, yeah, I'm going. I'm
One
going.
for travel, I guess. I don't
No,
know.
you ain't staying, you just go down and come back.
Just go ahead and come back.
Yeah,
So
but-
you got 2 members going, so that's good.
Yeah.
Nobody else is going but the two of us?
Three,
I'm going.
no,
Two.
our county administrator and Rob's going.
But I mean, so we don't need to do an
No, we.
another
it's
board
not
meeting,
gonna
because
be
there's only
three.
2 of, yeah, but we could if we did a meeting,
Just
you
Right,
know.
it's
report
only-
to us
it's
what y'all
only two.
get. What y'all hear, just come
Yeah.
back to us.
Okay, so we got 2 members going to that.
Can we schedule, I don't know if they
wouldn't-
will, schedule a Zoom? Well, if everybody join, that'll have to be a meeting.
That's on the 19th.
Friday, this
On the
Friday.
19th at
Okay.
11
I
o'clock.
don't know why I thought it was the same day.
I can't do that.
Oh, that state aid meeting is Wednesday.
That's,
Y'all don't forget.
that's Thursday.
Thursday,
Is,
Wednesday.
is Harry Lee James coming?
That's my understanding.
He is coming?
I mean, that's my understanding.
Is he coming?
I haven't confirmed.
I wasn't told he was coming.
I'll call him.
I know he got the report, that's what I was doing.
If he ain't coming, I ain't.
He's,
I thought he was supposed, I
He's
thought that was the
I
purpose.
thought that was the whole point.
I'll verify it tomorrow.
Well, he told me last time we talked with him in Oxford that he would be available to come. We didn't have a date set, so I'm just assuming all that was worked
he's
out.
open.
Yeah, well,
We just.
Get up with him.
She
He
said you're
may
not
not
in
know
a room,
who
you're
you
just
about.
going down and coming back, so
Yeah.
you don't need a board order for
Right.
that.
Okay, I'm good, I'm just trying to make sure.
Yeah, I'm just,
that not
I'm
missing
going in my
something.
truck and coming right back.
That's what I'm doing.
yeah,
Okay, I'm sorry.
no overnight stay. Did we appoint, Ms. Doss to the Starkville County Public Liability Board, I believe? I think that's what that.
A motion for approval on that.
Second.
For approval, motion by Supervisor Montgomery, second by Supervisor Miller. All in favor?
Did we get that
Motion
covered already?
carries 5-0.
Oh, that's a different one. We got 25.95. Big
Huh?
Creek. We got 25.95 Big Creek.
That's the
When he was here.
Yeah. Oh, we got.
Yeah, we got that.
SOCPLS board.
What about this?
Starbucks, Tip-Off County Public Library
Issues that
System.
he talking about out on Longview Road. No, thank you, I'm good.
I saw you eyeing me again.
No, I wasn't now.
Hey.
Not
We-
twice in one meeting.
We just gonna have to bring it up in the next meeting. That could open up a whole.
Yeah,
we could be
we
meeting
excuse me,
Okay.
excuse me, please, we trying to get out now.
Okay.
We got, Attorney Robinson up pertaining to the appraisal report.
Ladies and gentlemen, the appraisal come back at one, came back at 1.8 just so that you're aware, from a income standpoint, if we were renting this, his statement was it would come back at 1.6. So I did want to be clear that if we rented this, their appraisal said it would be 1.6 value, but from a standpoint of sales comparisons, he went through the whole allocation of everything in the city, and it came back 1.8. So it did meet the amount of money that it needed to. That's what you need to take from this. I'm not crazy about appraisal, but reality.
We're gonna have ample office space, so maybe we can make some changes that we've always talked about.
Yeah,
Well, we already
Moving
agreed to pay
people
it.
around.
37 offices.
Already agreed to pay it.
I'm talking about
Do we have
county
anything
engineer
else?
full-time.
Close up.
Oh, wow.
mean, we'll now have office space.
One thing, the offer, the administrator, I put all that in there, we had 3 entities to present. We need to start having that conversation and decide who we wanna go with. You may not be ready tonight, if not, that's fine. The next conversation is to start discussing who is gonna go into that new building, because I've been getting a lot of calls and questions. So that's another conversation to be had.
I'd like to go to triangle planning and development back to try to get an idea of what they really gonna focus on and what they're gonna be charging us for their services. I don't quite understand.
Rudy came by my office when he brought the letter, we talked about it, and he said, of course, it depends on the project. He couldn't lock in, something like some of the other ones did. Because some projects may not be more intense than others, so he just wasn't comfortable to just give you, something, but he felt that you would be pleased with it, whatever he did, if they got together.
We might need to still get him back for a second business, maybe, I don't know. If y'all prepared to, do you need more information from Golden Triangle Planning and Development?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so.
Or you want them or no?
Well, I mean, we could have as high as 10 projects going at one time. So we'll need somebody to handle all. Can they handle 10 of them at one time? Unless we're gonna, I mean, there are so many different projects you can do out of that money. Do we? I'm good with whatever the board wanna do.
Well, we have to have someone, I believe.
I have my recommendation as the administrator.
Okay.
You can have all 3 of them if you want to, but at this point, I just like to make a motion to recess to Thursday at 10 o'clock.
Second.
Motion to recess by Supervisor Trey. Second by Supervisor McDonald. Everybody in favor of that one?
Yeah.
So
Rob.
what day was that there?
Thursday at 10.
Thursday, 10.
I'm gonna wait and I've got one more to pick up from Corey.